Hi, I'm Jen,
I'm Sybil.
And I'm David.
and you're listening to Every Rom Com, the podcast where we have fun taking romantic comedies seriously.
This week on Every Rom Com, we're beginning our self-help series with a Jim Carrey movie based on a British memoir.
We'll talk about self-help books, seminars, and programs, and whether they're a part of our lives.
And we'll talk about the benefits and risks of saying yes to life as we discuss the 2008 hit comedy, Yes Man. Hello, Sybil.
Hello.
Hello, David.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. I'm really glad to have you back on the program, David. Really enjoyed discussing Once Bitten with you. I think it was episode 48.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're like my go-to Jim Carrey guy. So
I mean, that's a good person to be a recurring guest for. So that sounds
yeah.
like fun.
And I'm super excited to start our self-help series because we're in 2023. It's a new year. And at the beginning of every new year, I do New Year's resolutions. I will tend to look at self-help books and I'm always trying to improve my life in some way. And there's been a variety of self-help books that have been meaningful to me, like From the Artist's Way by Julia Cameron to Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. But I wanted to know, are self-help books something that's important in your lives? Is there a way that they've helped you?
I don't think I've ever read a self-help book.
So I just want to dig a little deeper on that, Sybil, just to make sure. So for me, self-help books are this really broad category, and they can be anything from a spiritual book or improving your creativity, ways to make your brain work better, health books, all kinds of things
Mm.
are in that category. So
Okay.
yeah. So when I put it that way, is that do you still think you haven't read anything
You know
self-help?
what? Then in that case, I have read a couple self-help things because I guess anything within self-help is things that are actually just you're learning more and getting help doing something. So I mean, YouTube videos, I guess, could be self-help.
Oh yeah. I think there's a huge category of YouTube videos that are basically just self-help videos. Yeah. And probably TikTok too, but I'm not on TikTok. So
Oh, TikTok is the land of self-help. You're right. I've learned I will never change how I make macaroni and cheese now because I've learned the TikTok way.
Well, if we're including YouTube and TikTok, can we include life hacker articles? Because
Oh
I
yeah,
guess that
heck
would be
yeah.
my only foray into self-help for me.
yeah, my theory about life hacker is it's a way of making self-help sound cool. For people for whom the term self-help seems stigmatizing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Because
am
there's
pretty
always
cool, so.
because there's always that joke about the people in the self-help section of crying or something. I've seen that in several TV shows or movies, right? That self-help people are just sad,
Mm.
overly emotional people, that they're losers or whatever. But I don't think of self-help that way, but some people do. So I think life hacker, improving your life, you know what I mean? It's the same
Yeah.
thing, but it
Yeah,
sounds
Yeah.
better.
I like that you've reframed that for me because I don't think I would have ever thought of any of that as self-help. But now I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Well, the macaroni, I don't know if that counts as self-help. For me, recipes and making food and that can veer into how to a little bit, but still, it's there are intersections for diet and health and nutrition and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. So can you think of any single tip that you've learned from these life hackers or kind of expert that you've looked at that you really like?
So if
Oh
we go to
man.
if we go to TikTok, there's an entire section that starts with with TikTok you live in a land of little sound bits, right? And the sound bit is always show me a life hack that has changed your life. And that's why I said macaroni because that's the one. That has changed my life.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny because most of the ones that I'm thinking of, I'm sure there's others that I'm just not even remembering exactly, but most of what I am thinking of are food related.
Okay. Okay.
Even if it's not a recipe, it's just things you can do to making it easier. So
Yeah, totally. That's me too.
Yeah, yeah, for me, I've definitely delved into the more typical emotional side of self-help, everything from working on improving relationships. I've read tons of books about having good relationships or improving your marriage or whatever. And then, nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg, which I mentioned, is maybe one of the best books I've ever read for improving relationships, because it really helps you avoid getting into destructive arguments and stuff like that. So, I mean, I really recommend that to anybody, like for any type of relationship in their life. And then like stuff like The Ethical Slut, I read that book and it like completely changed my life.
Oh
like
yeah, totally.
like, yeah, and that's just,
Would that
that's a
do
self-help
you think
book.
that counts as self-help?
Totally, because it's telling you how to navigate a new relationship style. It's kind of like showing you like some of the ways, the pitfalls you can fall into and how to avoid them. So 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like rom-coms and self-help books, like, I mean, if people in rom-coms read more self-help books, they might not have as many problems.
Yeah, then the movies would be there wouldn't be any conflict.
Yeah, that's true. That would be hard, but
No, there would be conflict, but it would be reconciled very quickly.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. There would be fewer misunderstandings for sure. Yeah. And like, yes. And also, you know, like The Artist's Way too, I mentioned before, 100% changed my life. Several times in my life, it caused me to like level up, and like, it's just going through questions and writing things out and following practices from self-help have been very useful to me. So yeah, if there's any readers out there who think, oh, self-help's it's kind of pathetic or whatever, like, you know, give it a try sometime, I recommend. And hopefully on future episodes, we'll have some more recommendations from other hosts. And if you can remember the TikTok with the macaroni symbol, you can feel free to submit that for the show notes.
Oh, I'll send it to you. That's not a problem. I have it saved. I use it all the time.
Very good. So we also today, before we begin our show, I wanted to give a shout out to David, because he's got a new album that should be out by the time this episode is out, called More Content. And like, David, I think this is your 6th album, right?
That's right. Yeah, my 6th like full length, like all original songs, nothing like with soundtracks or any of that kind of stuff that I also do.
Nice. And like, how long did it take to produce this particular album?
So this one's been in the works basically since like the start of the pandemic. Like at that time, I was kind of, locked in my studio, just working on so much music, and, we couldn't go out or any of that stuff. And I made my 2020 album, which was self-titled, just called David Rosen. A lot of these songs were also in the works at that same time. Some of them are newer that were started this year or in 2021 as well. But a lot of them were started during that same set of sessions. And for a while, this album was going to be like kind of like a part 2 to that album. And then I ended up deciding to kind of give it its own name and go with this kind of tongue-in-cheek idea of right now we're just constantly being bombarded by content. And so why not me do that too? And the album cover for it kind of also nails that point home, because it actually features images like kind of making up like a Netflix browser wall of just like it's literally 64, because it's 8x8 films and TV series and web series and various kinds of things that I did music for. So over the past 10 years that I've been working on this career of being a musician. And so all of that is just yet more and more content that I've worked on. And I hate when people call it content, but it's all for the joke of the album cover.
So David, I'm going to play a clip of a song that you sent along to us, and it's called Touched. And do you want to tell us anything about the song before I play the clip, or?
I guess I could talk about it more after, but I will say that it's like one of the more like kind of mid-tempo tracks on the album.
All right, so let's we're going to go ahead and we're going to listen to a little bit of that song. actually hate to cut it off because I was
No,
grooving
that's
over
really
here.
good. That is really good.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
so
very
much.
welcome. Where can people find this?
So the album will be available everywhere where you can find music, of course, on all the streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. There is a limited edition CD available on my Bandcamp profile, davidrosen.bandcamp.com, and also on my website, bydavidrosen.com.
Yeah, like I really like this song in particular. I was really grooving to. I feel like it's a very good like start your day song. But like, is there any emotion behind it that like you were trying to capture? Or just like, I don't. Some people don't like to tell about that stuff, but if you did,
Well, actually, I will be talking a lot about each track. Over on Piecing It Together, I'm going to be posting a special bonus episode, taking a break from the movies for a second, and
oh,
doing like an album length commentary where I talk about all the songs while they play. So if you're interested in the background of some of the songs, definitely check that out. But as far as this one, we've been taking a lot of yoga classes with my wife. And so, I kind of was trying to capture that vibe of like, that kind of almost spiritual type vibe and something that's just super chill. And a lot of the tracks on this album is actually, I would say, my most upbeat album of the 6 albums. But
yeah.
you want to slow it down and have a little bit of variety. And I wanted something that was just like totally a chill out vibe with this one.
No, you definitely succeeded. I felt peaceful. So yeah,
Awesome.
and you mentioned piecing it together. I don't think we actually said so yet in our introduction, but David is also from the Piecing It Together podcast, which is a movie podcast. We talk with him about that and about his music more in the intro section of our Once Bitten episode. And you can also just like go and listen to David's podcast, Piecing It Together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so definitely check out David's podcast. And is there anywhere else you'd like to send people, David, your social links or anything like that before we get going?
You can follow me on Twitter and all those places at Piecing Pod for the podcast and at by David Rosen for the music. That's BY David Rosen. And that's where you can find everything that I'm up to.
Fantastic. And I will put links to all of that in the show notes. Plus, I will put links if Sybil gives it to me for the macaroni. So,
You'll
yes.
get it. So before we get started today, a few notes. First, as usual, there will be a spoiler-free section at the beginning of this episode, and we will warn you when the spoilers are about to start.
We'd also like to remind you that you can follow the podcast on social media. Our Facebook page is Every Rom Com Podcast and Blog. Our Instagram is at Every Rom Com, and our Twitter handle is at Every Rom Com Pod.
And as always, you can find the podcast at everyromcom.com. Send us feedback at feedback@everyromcom.com. And if you like what you hear, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're getting your podcasts.
Okay, and we've got one more note today. This is different. We're going to have our first ever giveaway for this episode. We'll be giving away one used copy of the book Yes Man by Danny Wallace, the book which the movie is based on. It is a very funny book, and it has a lot of different stories of what can happen when you say yes. We will mail the book to any country that you may be listening from. And this is what you have to do to enter. To enter, email us at feedback@everyromcom.com. And you're going to include the code phrase, which we are going to give you later in the episode. We will draw a winner from the entries we receive by January 20th, 2023, and then contact you to get your mailing address. If you don't want to enter the contest, but you would still like to get a possible shout out on a future episode, you can also email us at feedback@everyromcom.com and either recommend your favorite self-help book or tell us about a time you said yes to something scary that worked out well. So we hope to hear from a lot of you, and I cannot wait to share this book with one lucky listener. I legitimately love this book, so I'll talk about it later in the episode. And now let's listen to part of the trailer for Yes Man.
Carl Allen has reported for duty.
I'm not a soldier, Norman.
I'm having a little get-together at my place.
We are Sparta!
Yeah, no.
No.
You're always making excuses.
When's the last time you did anything fun?
Hi.
Carl, long time no see. You must be running this place by now.
I could have. Didn't want to get tied down.
I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I've lived. I'm a yes man. Wow.
Yes! Yes!
No.
You say no to life, and therefore you're not living. Every time an opportunity presents itself, you will say... Yes.
I do want to take guitar lessons.
I am Farlush. Would you be the man for me?
I guess so. Yes, I would like to learn Korean.
청주 나시는 어때요?
잘했어요. What did he call me? Oh.
Discover what happens
You have to say yes to everything. Yes.
Do you need a ride?
On that thing?
when every question
Can I borrow a couple bucks?
Are we gonna fight or what?
Would you like to throw loose your bridal shower?
has the same answer.
Yeah. Sure. Why not? That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love that.
That is sweet, Carl.
Thanks, Finish.
This Christmas,
I never had a Red Bull before, but I had a Red Bull last night. I really like Red Bull.
Yeah, you seem a little hyper.
Oh, jeez!
say yes to life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that does it pretty much justice. It's just like a
Yeah.
rolling crazy time.
Yeah, and like the music choices, like sometimes I don't like it when the music's not from the movie, but they chose really well in this
They did.
trailer.
I have
Yeah.
to agree with you on that.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Yes Man. Yes Man was released December 17th, 2008. So seriously, they thought it was going to be a Christmas movie. Peyton Reed is the director. It was written by Nicholas Stoller, Jared Paul, and Andrew Mogul, and it's based on, as we've said, the book by Danny Wallace. It's starring Jim Carrey and Zooey Deschanel.
So the premise is Carl Allen is a man who says no to everything, and his life has become boring and lonely as a result. After his friend Peter gets mad at him for missing his engagement party and he's passed over for a promotion at work, Carl runs into an old acquaintance who invites him to go to a seminar on saying yes to life. At the seminar, Carl makes a covenant with Terrence, the leader of the seminar, and then becomes convinced that things will go wrong if he says no to anything at all. As a result of saying yes, Carl's life begins to improve, and he even meets a cool girl named Allison. But will Carl realize that you can say yes too often?
So there's a lot of interesting things to know about this movie, but we're going to spread them a little more through the episode. First of all, as we've mentioned, the movie Yes Man is loosely based on the 2005 memoir Yes Man by Danny Wallace, and Wallace makes a brief appearance in the movie in a party scene near the end. I'll give you more details on the book and Danny Wallace later in the episode. Because the character in the movie Yes Man says yes to learning many skills, Jim Carrey did a lot of studying for his role. He learned to play the guitar a little bit. He studied Korean for 10 weeks with dialect coach John Song, who also plays the Korean instructor in the movie. And he also did his own bungee jump. Jim Carrey's first ever bungee jump was actually the one used in the film.
Oh my God, that's so scary.
Yeah, you're watching a man bungee jump for the first time and also like do the dialogue he was supposed to do.
Oh my God.
That's
which is
nuts.
amazing. Director Peyton Reed had this to say about Jim Carrey, quote, "Working with Jim every day is an adventure because the story requires him to do so many different things. He rides a motorcycle, he learns Korean, plays guitar, plays Dance Dance Revolution, he roller luges, and he bungee jumps off a bridge. Jim just dug in and he was so prepared on this film. It made my job much easier." End quote. And that's from the website EmmanuelLevy.com. And Jim Carrey's physical comedy is on display throughout this whole movie. He did have one mishap. He ended up breaking 3 ribs in a bar scene where he falls down after running into a waitress. He said he kind of changed his plan for the stunt at the last minute, and that's why he had that accident. The movie was largely shot in LA, and it used many iconic locations, including the Hollywood Bowl and Griffith Park. It also used real local clubs and restaurants like the Bigfoot Lodge and Spaceland Club. And Sybil, if you recognize or can tell us any more
recognize
about
every single one of those places, and I've drunk many times at the Bigfoot Lodge. They have one of the best s'mores cocktails I've ever had in my entire life.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But I've been to every single place. That was like a love story to like Los Angeles. Like even the bungee jump is off. By the way, they do not bungee jump off this bridge, but it's on this bridge and on its way to Pasadena.
Yeah, as we go throughout the film, like if you wanted to add more details or stories about these places, I would love to hear them. So you definitely did that for Clueless. I learned about Circus Liquor from you.
Circus Liquor in North Hollywood. Yeah.
So Yes Man had a budget of $70 million and it grossed $223 million. And this 70 million budget did not include Jim Carrey's salary, by the way. He did not take a salary for Yes Man. Instead, he opted for a 36.2% share of the profits, and that ended up being a very good decision for him as the movie grossed so much.
Yeah, it was.
So some facts out of the way. I wanted to know what everybody's experience is with this movie. Like, when did you first see it? What was your opinion? Have you watched it over the years? And how do you like it these days?
Well, I remember when it came out, this is like after like comedy kind of changed to like the whole Judd Apatow and you know Paul Rudd and all those guys, and Jim Carrey was kind of like left behind, even though he was like the biggest comedy star of the 90s, you know, and this just kind of felt like at the time like, oh yeah, Jim Carrey, he's still around. And I don't feel like it really made much of an impact. I feel like it was like almost like too little too late at the time when it came out. And I definitely had only ever seen it the one time, and at the time just thought it was okay. Um,
Now
and
that
so
is, that is
it
a
was
bold
fun to finally
statement.
revisit.
That is a
Well,
bold
I mean,
statement
listen, it
for a
made $223
$223
million,
Yeah.
so somebody watched it.
Yeah, I'm surprised to
It
hear that
wasn't me
number
either, by the
because
way. It was not me. I did not watch this movie.
I went to the
Okay.
theater. I saw this in the theater with my brother, so we were psyched because, like as you said, David, he was so big in the '90s. My brother would go to all his films at the movie theater I worked at, and like, yeah, it was just a big thing for us to go together to watch this movie in the theater. And yeah, so I was drawn in. But anyway, sorry, I didn't want to derail you, David. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, no, I was so surprised to hear about how much it made because I felt like it just kind of came and went, and nobody liked it. Nobody really talked about it, and so I guess it was somewhat of a hit at the time. And I'm glad to hear that because I mean it's a fun movie.
Yeah, it may have also made a lot internationally too. Like I want to say, so yeah, because I think this is a movie that translates well to a lot of different countries, probably.
Yeah.
So, Sybil, you said you didn't see it at the time?
No, I am not a Jim Carrey fan. So I
Really?
find his physical humor hard to manage. And same with this film. Like we'll get into it, but I'm incredibly uncomfortable all of the time while watching him. It's like watching a like 10-year-old in grade school trying to be like, look at me, you seriously, I've been traumatized my entire life, so therefore I need to be the person that you're always looking at and laughing at so that you know that so you don't see my insecurity. And like his eyes are always so sad.
So, Sybil, why did you decide you wanted to come on this episode then?
Because I was like, well, maybe I need to, because as Jim Carrey has grown as an actor,
Mhm.
I've really loved his serious stuff. And as a person, I think he's absolutely fascinating. So I was like, maybe I'll go back and watch something. Maybe I, was just thinking of his In Living Color days and stuff. And I was like, no, as I watched this, I was definitely like, oh God, no, this is why I don't watch Jim Carrey's stuff. Absolutely.
So you would say you do not like the movie?
Oh, I absolutely do not like this movie.
Oh my God. Okay. So I love this movie. So
even now, because it ages so poorly. It's so offensive.
I don't think so. So for
all right,
I'll be interested to see what points you want to say age poorly later. But
all right.
So okay. So I love Yes Man. I saw it with my brother, like I said, when it came out in theaters, and then I watched it. I got it on DVD. I watched it over the years. And then my biggest interaction with Yes Man came when I was a teacher in South Korea. So I was at a university in South Korea, and we were doing presentations on movies, right? And it was a way for students to learn English, basically. And Yes Man was one of the movies people could choose. And it was like by far the most popular selection. Like all the students would like kind of fight over who got to do Yes Man. And they loved the movie. And part of why they love the movie is because Jim Carrey speaks Korean in the movie. And there's like other Koreans speaking in the movie, and they loved it. They were just like, this is amazing. Every time they gave a presentation about it, they would show scenes where Jim Carrey is speaking Korean in their presentation. And like, yeah, like I think it meant a lot to them to see their culture represented, because this was like before, K-pop blew up really big in the US. The students really responded to it. They really responded to the positive message of it and the saying yes of it all. And I did too. Like I've always really responded to like the idea of like going out and going for things and taking a risk. So forth. Like I do it in some areas of my life, but not all. And so for me, this movie is like pretty inspirational. And for me, it has aged well. I find it very rewatchable. I find the whole thing very cohesive. Like the script is very good at like seeding things in that pay off later. Like I've rarely seen a movie that does that effectively. You know what I mean? Like all the characters kind of show up later and interconnect in different ways. So yeah, I have no complaints with it. But I'm definitely bring your complaints as we go. Definitely bring your critiques as we go, Sybil.
No problem.
And David, like it seems like you like it, but it's not like your favorite, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like I come in right in between you guys, and I do think there's some stuff that definitely does not age well. But at the same time, I think that it's all in good fun, and so I don't think any of it is particularly offensive. Just maybe wouldn't work nowadays.
Okay. All right. So let's So Sybil, you pick out your red flags as we go. And David, hopefully you'll bring us some puzzle pieces as we go too.
Sure.
And yeah, let's get headed into the cast and crew. So I'm going to cover Jim Carrey today. We did not cover him on our Once Bitten episode because I thought he should be associated with a better film. Jim Carrey is from Ontario, and he grew up in the Toronto area. He was a performer from an early age. According to his IMDb bio, in junior high, his teachers would give him a few minutes at the end of the day to perform comedy for the class if he would settle down for the rest of the day, which I love that. That sounds like Jim Carrey. And during the end of high school, though, he had to work 8-hour factory shifts in order to help support his family when his dad lost his job. And I've variously seen it where he had to actually drop out of high school or where he worked after high school. But I think he actually had to drop out of high school because it said he got a GED later. Simultaneously, while he was working in the factory, though, he began working as a stand-up comedian. He actually made his club debut at age 15.
That is remarkable. That is remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a prodigy, basically. And much of his early comedy work was doing impressions. And eventually he got out of that and expanded to other things. He moved to Hollywood at 19, and he soon became the opening act for Rodney Dangerfield. Carrey's first IMDb credit, though, is for the Canadian TV movie Rubberface in 1981. And then other roles in the 80s included Once Bitten, which we covered on episode 48 of Every Rom Com, a supporting role in Peggy Sue Got Married, and a lead role in Earth Girls Are Easy. And then, as you said, David, like his big years were in the 90s. From 90 to 94, he worked on the TV comedy sketch show In Living Color. And then in 1994, Carrey had his breakout film role in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. And then the same year, 1994, The Mask and Dumb and Dumber came out. Like, when I looked at that, I was like, my God, that was like his year.
It's insane. It's truly insane.
Like, I always think of 94 as the year Pulp Fiction came out, or Shawshank Redemption, or Forrest Gump, right? But like, this is like Jim Carrey's year. And then in 1995, Carrey appeared in the Ace Ventura sequel, and he played the Riddler in Batman Forever. In 96, he appeared in what I think is the unfairly panned dark comedy, The Cable Guy. My brother
one of the best comedies of the 90s.
Yes, thank you. My brother saw that like 20 times at the theater when I was working there, which is a little weird, but... And then Carrey finished up the 90s with Liar Liar, The Truman Show, and Man on the Moon. So just an all-over great run. Then Carrey's 2000s films before Yes Man included How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Bruce Almighty, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and a series of unfortunate events.
If you have ever listened, and I do not particularly like How the Grinch Stole Christmas, it's not my jam, but listening to him discuss what it was like to film that and like the trials and tribulations he went through, I was like, this man is so seriously like into his art, because his costume made him feel like he was drowning every day. Like he couldn't breathe in and he would have claustrophobic attacks. And they actually brought someone onto set who was like, teaches people in the CIA how to be interrogated and be able to survive interrogation, because that's
I think he had to wear these like big thick contacts also for the Grinch eyes, and they're like super painful every time they were put in.
Yeah, and he would always say like, I'm doing it for the children. I'm doing it for the children. That's what kept him going. The idea that this movie would last forever for children to enjoy.
My God.
Right?
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, like that's I didn't know that. I've never actually seen his version of the Grinch. Yeah, like for me, like the early 2000s is all about Eternal Sunshine. Like that movie was so meaningful to me.
Yeah, that is one of the ones where he started going more serious, and I think he's a very underrated actor. He's absolutely incredible in my mind in like what he can do, and his physicality. He still uses it even in serious stuff. It's just so much more subtle.
Yeah, yeah. So then after Yes Man, Carrey appeared in films including I Love You, Philip Morris, A Christmas Carol, Mr. Popper's Penguins, Kick-Ass 2, Dumb and Dumber 2, spelled T-O, The Bad Batch, Dark Crimes, Sonic the Hedgehog, and the TV show Kidding. And in 2022, Carrey reprised his role as Dr. Robotnik for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Also in 2022, Carrey told Access Hollywood that he was most likely retiring from acting. He said, quote, "Well, I'm retiring. Yeah, probably. I'm being fairly serious. It depends. If the Angels bring some sort of script that's written in gold ink that says to me that it's going to be really important for people to see, I might continue down the road, but I'm taking a break." End quote. So it's not really a definitive statement, but it's like, it's kind of like that Quentin Tarantino 10 movies and I'm quitting thing, you know? I don't know.
I mean, he kind of like fell off for a while and then came back huge with the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. So it's certainly a good way to go out if he does decide to really retire.
Yeah.
Well, and also if you follow him for any of his spirituality stuff, he is very much of the mind that you do what you do in this life so that it is meaningful and that it will live on forever beyond you. And that's why you do what you do.
Yeah, and like speaking of that, instead of acting, Carrey has said he is enjoying painting and his spiritual life. And he took up painting around 2011. And I watched this short documentary released in 2017 that you can see on Vimeo. It's called Jim Carrey, I Needed Color. And that's about his painting. And that was really interesting. So I recommend, if you're at all interested in Jim Carrey, check that out. I'll put a link in the show notes. Have you guys seen that at all?
I actually watched it because you had it in the show notes and I loved it. It was so good.
Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting. He also got into creating political cartoons during the Trump administration. So a lot of people have seen that. And spirituality has been an important part of Carrey's life, but he doesn't follow one particular religion. In a 2004 interview with CBS, he said, "I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm whatever you want me to be. It all comes down to the same thing. You are either in a loving place or you are in an unloving place." So that's a pretty good philosophy. And speaking of philosophy, and speaking of his philosophy, overall, he seems like a really good choice to take on the role of a yes man. So I learned about this from my Korean students, actually. Some of them played this during their presentations. In 2014, he gave a commencement speech at Maharishi International University. And part of his speech was this: "So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love." End quote. And like, to make that more meaningful, that's about how his father didn't follow his dreams and instead took like a boring job he didn't want. And he still got fired from that. So Carrey's lesson from that was like, just do what you want to do, because there's no guarantees you're going to succeed if you take the path you don't want. He's a pretty deep dude, actually.
He's a very deep dude. So he has a memoir, and it is the most strange thing you will ever read. It is like a drug-induced dream state, but at the same time, like, it's supposed to be like, is this really true? Is it not true? But I mean, if you've learned anything about Jim Carrey, so much of that I guarantee you is true, maybe heightened in a few places, but like, it's about like finding yourself and life.
Yeah, I read it's part memoir, part novel, and it's the co-author of that is Dana Vachon. So yeah, I really want to read it now. I've got it on my holds at the library now.
It's one of the strangest things I've ever read. It feels kind of like Sound and the Fury at times.
Weird. Okay.
That's awesome.
All right. Anything else we want to say about Jim Carrey? Should we move on?
As a person, I think he's a very cool person. Even if I don't always like what he does, I respect everything he does do.
All right. Well, okay. That's nice. That's fair of you, Sybil. All right. And then David's going to go ahead now and tell us a little bit about Zooey Deschanel.
All right. So Zooey Deschanel comes from a Hollywood family. Her father, Caleb, is a cinematographer, and her mother was an actress. Her older sister, Emily Deschanel, is also an actress and perhaps best known for her starring role on the TV series Bones. Zooey Deschanel's first IMDb credit is for an episode of Veronica's Closet in 1998, followed by her first movie role, Mumford, in 1999. And in 2000, she had her breakout role playing the main character's older sister, Anita, in Almost Famous.
And I remember her from that. Like, I remember being struck by her. Yeah.
Absolutely. That was, I think, the first time I became aware of her, for sure. Then in 2001, she followed it up alongside future 500 Days of Summer co-star Joseph Gordon-Levitt in a drama called Manic. Deschanel also did a number of other indie films before Yes Man, including The Good Girl, All the Real Girls, Winter Passing, The Go-Getter, Flakes, and Gigantic. She also appeared in the not-so-indie film Elf, Also, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Failure to Launch, and The Happening.
The Happening. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
But
what a
but
movie.
but for serious, these indie films, like I really want to see most of them now. I looked up some of the descriptions and I was like, my God, like I really need to delve into her early filmography. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
like
she was like a kind of like hipstery kind of indie girl for a while.
yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of those movies are great. And of course, Elf is, a Christmas classic at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after Yes Man, Deschanel appeared in 500 Days of Summer in 2009 and Our Idiot Brother in 2011. And also in 2011, she began playing the lead character on the popular TV series New Girl, which ran until 2018, which she was also a producer on. She didn't make many films during the 2010s, but did do a handful of movies, including voice acting for Trolls in 2016 and Trolls 2 in 2020. Most recently, Deschanel co-starred in a 2022 movie, Dreamin' Wild, and she currently has a movie in post-production called Harold and the Purple Crayon. In addition to her acting work, she has a music career, which I feel like lately she's maybe even more known for.
Yeah.
She's been very active since high school and is best known for the project with M. Ward called She and Him, which as that duo, they've released 7 albums, starting with the album Volume 1 in 2008, up to their latest release in 2022, Melt Away, a tribute to Brian Wilson. In addition to She and Him, Deschanel also has sung in many of her movie projects and in the show New Girl.
Zooey Deschanel, I feel like she's been in so much, but I've only seen like the tip of the iceberg. And I still kind of like, she got kind of associated with that manic pixie dream girl label, in the 2000s. Yeah. But I think there's a lot more to her work and I want to seek it out. Do you guys watch a lot of her stuff or listen to her music or anything?
I listen to her music. I saw her at the Hollywood Bowl maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and she was fantastic.
Oh, no way.
Nice. I know I definitely listened to that first album from She and Him. I haven't listened to any of the ones recently, though.
I'm kind of curious about the Brian Wilson project. I think that could be interesting. So maybe I'll check that out.
Totally. All right, so we're on to Peyton Reed. He is the director of this film. Peyton Reed grew up and attended university in North Carolina, and according to Wikipedia, one of his earliest film jobs was as a van driver on Bull Durham, which was filming in North Carolina. Lucky for him. Reed's earliest writing and directing credits are in the late 80s for short TV specials and music videos. He continued to direct for TV during the 90s, including on Mr. Show with Bob and David and Upright Citizen Brigade. His big break came in 2000 when he directed the Kirsten Dunst cheerleader comedy Bring It On, which is one of my favorite films.
Yes,
totally.
Me too. I love that movie so much.
Awesome.
Yes.
Before Yes Man, he also directed the rom-coms Down with Love and The Breakup.
Which, David, didn't you say that Down with Love was like one of your faves on the last episode we did with you?
It's so good.
I
only
agree.
first saw it a couple of years ago for the first time, and I can't believe how good that movie is.
It's very strong.
Yeah.
After Yes Man, Reed continued to direct for TV, including directing 3 episodes of Zooey Deschanel's show The New Girl. In 2015, Reed somewhat controversially stepped in for Edgar Wright to direct Marvel's Ant-Man, which is probably how most people know him.
Okay, and wait, but like, why? I know like there's controversy because Edgar Wright stepped down, right? But like, I don't feel like
he did not step. I mean, he stepped down, but he didn't really step down.
Sure, but I don't think I don't think it's really Peyton Reed's like fault that he was then.
No, but I think that they all like for me at least in the industry, it always goes together. Whenever you say Peyton Reed, you're like, oh yeah, he stepped in for Edgar Wright. It happens every time.
Okay.
So I think to ignore it is, at least for me, it's something strange. And I mean, I think that one of the things is because everybody thinks that Peyton Reed was not going to do a good job. And then he like kicked it out of the park, right? Like he just was like, he made Ant-Man so incredibly good.
Yeah. I don't know why you would think Peyton Reed wouldn't do a good job. He's a very good director in my opinion. So yeah.
Yeah. But I think that people thought Ant-Man was going to be a little less romancy and more like kind of odd. Because if you think about if Edgar Wright had done that film, it would have been a very different looking feeling film.
Well, he's done all kinds of films too. Edgar Wright, has a style that varies considerably movie to movie.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Anyway.
So Reed also directed the sequel Ant-Man and the Wasp and the upcoming 3rd movie Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
And that's like the only Marvel property that I'm like super excited about right now, to be honest. Like I feel like the Ant-Man movies have. Yeah,
agreed.
Good. Thank you.
Agree.
I feel like the Ant-Man quality has been consistent or even better, whereas some of the other series have been like, mixed.
Well, and I love Paul Rudd. So like
Yeah.
I could wax poetic on Paul Rudd and how just incredibly good he is on pretty much everything he does.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Reed also recently directed 2 episodes of the Star Wars TV show The Mandalorian.
Yeah, and I didn't see anything upcoming for him, but like, you know, I'm sure he'll keep doing great stuff.
He's been working on Ant-Man. That's been taking up all of his time.
Yeah.
So, and then this movie has like a deep cast of supporting actors. Okay, like there's people showing up in here you wouldn't expect. Bradley Cooper plays Peter, Carl's friend, and this was before The Hangover. Terrence Stamp plays Terrence, the leader of the Yes Man seminars. Rhys Darby plays Norman. Danny Masterson plays Rooney. And John Michael Higgins plays Nick. So, and there's more people in this movie we'll talk about later. All right, well, let's get into the movie now. So I love the way this movie opens because they open with the song Separate Ways by Journey, which is like, dun, 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 dun. It sounds like there's some action's going to happen, something exciting's going to happen. And then it cuts to Carl with his cell phone ringtone going, no, and looking really depressed. I love that misdirect.
I want to state right here that this film is so incredibly 90s. This is literally like the cusp of where like the world started kind of changing technologically.
Wait, 90s? This is from 2008.
But don't you feel like they pull in so much stuff? Like they use like a Polaroid at one point, and
yeah, but that was like a hipster revival of the Polaroid, though. That was
maybe
like this is so
hipster.
2000s. This is so Portland 2000s for me. Like I was living in Portland when this movie came out. This is the phone people had in Portland in the 2000s. This is the Polaroid people were using, like, ironically. This is the whole shtick with that.
There's a lot of references in here that are very, very specific to that point in time. I mean, I was actually surprised, like, when somebody brought up Facebook at one point. I was like, was Facebook big yet? Like, it was really kind of surprising. Like, but yeah, it's like a very specific moment in time.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe like Sybil, you were living in the future, and the rest of us were still a few years in the past.
Well, or I really do not understand hipster culture, so like that, I probably looked at it and was like, I don't understand that even a little bit.
Okay. And we see Carl. Speaking of another throwback, the opening sequence takes place in a video store where Carl is renting tapes, or rather DVDs. He's renting DVDs at this point. Yeah. But it's like a Blockbuster basically, and you're like, whoa, there you go.
Think of the end days of Blockbuster.
Yeah, I mean, that was getting to be the end there. And the shtick here is that Carl picks up the phone eventually. His friend Peter's on the other line, asking him to go out, and Carl's claiming to be at home, making a bunch of excuses. And then we see Peter reveals that he's right outside the video store looking at Carl, faking being busy. So yeah.
That I cracked the heck up at. I was like, the whole idea of being caught and then still like lying about it. And then Bradley Cooper sold that so hard.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper's great in this.
He's like the look that he gives where he's like on his phone, he's just looking at Jim Carrey like in the line lying to him, and he's just like, dude, this happens every day.
So Carl ends up having to go to the bar with Peter, where Peter announces his engagement to his girlfriend Lucy. And then Stephanie, Carl's ex-wife, who apparently they divorced 3 years ago, shows up with her new boyfriend. This causes Carl to freak out, and we kind of get a sense of this might be what caused him to say no to everything. Relatable situation, not relatable?
Meh.
Yeah, I feel that way, man.
I never really got down about breakups, so.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a superpower.
Never happened with me.
That is a superpower. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. From what I understand, it's not normal, but I was always like, oh, that sucks. All right, on to the next segment of my life.
Well, also he's like been broken up about this for a very, very long time.
That's true. Yeah, it is. It has been long enough.
His life stopped essentially when
right.
His ex was like, and for all you know, she was like, I can't stand the person you're becoming because you just sit at home and don't want to do anything ever.
Yeah,
so you don't really know that part of the story of him so much. That's something I would have liked to be fleshed out a bit more.
If there had been a Yes Man TV series.
Heck yeah. Or even in this, like if they'd had a conversation once where she's like, this is typical you. And I really wish, there are reasons why I'm, with somebody who likes to, or like when you meet the new boyfriend and she's like, he likes to do things with me.
Yeah. So the next series of sequences, we see Carl saying no to a number of things in his life. This is one of the things I love about this movie. All the things he says no to are eventually going to pay off. He says no to his neighbor Tilly, who wants help with something. He says no to a guy handing out flyers for a band. Says no to his boss Norm's party, which is a funny hat and or wig party. Let me just say, I really want to be invited to a funny hat and or wig party.
Norm's parties are the part of this movie that I love. I'm like, I'm ready for Norm and just hanging out at his parties.
Thank you. I love Norm too. Norm is played by the actor who plays Murray on Flight of the Conchords, and I love that actor as well. So, and then of course Carl's a loan officer, and so he's saying no to a loan as well. And then we see Carl finding out that he has not been promoted at work. It's gone to some other guy instead.
This is one of the points that I could not get actually a good read on how like he actually felt. Do you feel that he was sad he didn't get the promotion, or do we feel that like he like was like, no, I really didn't want that promotion. It was going to make me do too much work anyway.
Resigned. I feel like he felt resigned, and so it's maybe not sad, but it's like not happy.
Yeah, I think he just doesn't care about anything really.
Yeah, apathy.
Apathy.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Okay, apathy. He's like apathetic about it. Okay.
He then has an encounter with an old acquaintance named Nick. And I'm just going to go ahead and play that clip.
What have you been doing?
Oh, I've been all over the map, man. I've lived. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I ate bat in Laos. I shot a cow with a bazooka. I'm not proud of that last one, but I did it, man.
Wow, sounds wild.
Want to know my secret? I'm a yes man. The word yes has changed my life here.
No, thanks. I'm fine.
Fine, I wipe my ass with fine.
Wow. Okay.
You don't want to work here, Carl.
Yeah, I do.
No, you don't. Why don't you take this rock, throw it at that bank and shatter the window?
No, thanks.
Then ask me if I want to.
Do you want to throw that rock at the bank?
Yes!
Oh my God! What are you, nuts?
Go to the seminar, Carl.
Carl, live your life. You won't regret it.
I love that scene. I love that actor. He's so funny.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He really captures that like the pushiness, that very strange like it's like a pushiness of people who have found something and they just really want you to be a part of it too.
Yeah. That manic excitement, the look in the eyes, the kind of like you're a little bit frightened of them.
You are a little bit frightened, and you know that they're like on some kind of journey that you may or may not want to take ever.
Like, I feel like I've maybe been that person like once or twice in my life to other people. So like I can be amused by it like in that sense too. Like it's relatable to me. Like I've both met people like that, and I think I've briefly been people like that, you know, before I kind of calm down.
Right. Well, I mean, I think anytime we have something new that's like changing our life, it's you want everyone else to have that same experience. You're like, no, but this is amazing. Go see this amazingness. Be part of this amazingness with us.
Sometimes I actually feel like that when I'm promoting the podcast too. Like I have to be like this guy, but like, have you listened to this episode? It's so good.
Yeah.
So have you guys ever met someone in your life who came up to you with like a program or something like this? Have you had this experience, like someone sort of proselytizing that you kind of knew?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for real. So, I mean, anytime, like I had anybody who's ever met somebody who loves Kagan water, this is the conversation that you have.
Wait, what? Okay. What water?
So not a Kagan water fan then. There you go. So Kagan water is a certain kind of water that it alkalizes. And so people are like, I can change my pH of my water, and it changed my life. And like my, you know, big toe that fell off has reappeared and grown again. And, you know, it's like,
yeah, this is the kind of thing that the mute button is for on social media. The mute button does wonders, so I don't have to hear from these people.
So wait, you know multiple people with this water in person or online?
In person for sure.
Have you ever tried this water?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's alkalized water.
And are these people selling the water, or they just really want you to know about it?
The machine that makes the water.
Okay.
So like you attach it to your home, Do you really want to go into like how cake and water functions? It's going to be
No,
very exciting.
It cures
not like
cancer. It does everything you
It
can
does. It
imagine.
cures cancer for sure. It's at 7 pH, definitely curing cancer.
No, it's more like I just wanted to know like what your relationship with these people was like, and did you feel it was transactional or they were just true believers? And
No,
like,
they were true. No, they're true believers. It's like when you meet, and I apologize, I'm about to say this to every vegetarian. When you meet somebody who's never been a vegetarian or a vegan or a Ross, and then they become that, there comes a period of time where they want to convert you very hard.
Oh yeah,
and that's fine because they're very excited about it.
No, that's one of the times in my life when I was definitely John Michael Higgins' character here. Like when I first went vegan, like I was like telling everybody about it, and like I went through like about a 6-month period of that, and then I calmed down.
Yeah, because anything that's new, that's like changed you, that has actually made changes for you, you do want to share that change with other people.
Yeah.
I want you to experience the same change and joy I'm having in this change.
Yeah.
This epiphany, I want you to have this as well.
Yeah, it's often coming from a good place, but it can be a nuisance to other people depending on whether they want to receive these types of messages. Yeah. Any other thoughts about this encounter with Nick before we move on?
I think it's a good setup for like what's up, everything else is going to happen. Like writing wise, this is like as you said, a well wrought movie. Like it's well written in the sense of like the beats and the pacing and everything.
Yeah. Okay, so we get a little more of Carl's no man before we get to the main action of the movie. We see him renting tapes again. I love that he's got like Saw and 300.
I love that he's arguing with Saw. Like he's just like, I don't like, go ahead, take off your arm, whatevs. Don't be a little bitch about it.
I mean, we all do that, don't we? We talk to our movies. I mean, come on.
Sure.
Yeah. And we see a sad call to his ex-wife, Stephanie, who like cuts him off. And then we see Peter confront Carl for missing his engagement party. He comes right over to his house to tell him, you missed my engagement party, and kind of tell him off. And then we get like this nightmare sequence with Carl dead on the couch and like a fly is crawling out his face. And I wonder if they really had a fly crawling out his face. I couldn't find any information about that.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's creepy, and that's pure Jim Carrey. So
yeah.
Is this part of the physical acting that creeps you out, Sybil?
Yes, part of it.
I mean, this one should creep you out.
I mean, it's like going to go in his mouth and stuff, like disgusting.
All right, and so now we come. Carl's had this nightmare. He's been kind of scared into trying out the Yes seminar. So he shows up at this Yes is the new No, I think is like the name of the book that's being hawked at this one. And it's in this huge event hall. It's packed with people. There's this like kind of dance electronic music playing and video screens with like Terrence Stamp talking on them. And everyone in the audience knows that they're supposed to shout yes on cue at certain times and then no, man, no at other times. It's this whole cult-like atmosphere. What do you guys think of this whole yes man scene here that we have, this setup we have?
If you've ever been to anything that's like this is 100% real.
So have you been to things like this?
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what kind of things? Like,
I mean, people who are like going to teach you how to like, use real estate to change your life, or Nexium, or anybody who's like been in any multi-level marketing schemes. So like Herbalife people, like anything like Mary Kay. Come on. This is what this is like.
Okay. And like, so you've been in that atmosphere. Was it uncomfortable?
Oh yeah, I've been on this because so this is what happens. People invite you to come, and you're just like, you've just learned over the years to just say yes. Really? Yeses. You just say yes to that, knowing that you're just going to leave and be like, whatever, I don't really care. But it's an experience, and you've done it with somebody, and maybe you'll save them from like making poor choices.
Okay. So you've volunteered to go with people and like, but knowing that you weren't going to buy into things.
Heck yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Have you ever been to something like this, David?
Yeah, same thing. These direct sale, multi-level marketing type things. I've been to a couple of them where I kind of had no choice. It's like a friend or a friend of a friend. You just kind of get rolled into going, and that you're not going to buy in. You're just biding the time until it's over so you can leave. And everyone is just so bought in. Every other person in that room. And it's very creepy. It's very cult-like. And it's weird.
I always imagine it's like the Salem witch trials. You're all just sitting there and they're like, yes, we all now agree. We've been brainwashed. The propaganda is working.
Wow. Yeah, I've had experiences with meditation retreats, and like one of them was a bit culty. I'll probably talk a little bit more about that on the Eat Pray Love episode, because it's more similar to like the ashram vibe in that movie than it is to this. Like meditation has a whole different kind of culty vibe sometimes, depending on the group you're doing it with. And I've gone to non-culty meditation groups too. I'm gonna just be clear.
I mean,
about
and
that.
you can see that like when you just said that, I'm like, oh, I've been to that yoga. I've been to that yoga retreat. The one where
it's big in those kinds of circles as well, for sure.
Yeah, but like I haven't been to anything like this that like is so well produced, except maybe like a Democratic state convention or something like that, which is its own kind of, group mindset. Like people seem to like these group mindsets, like whether it's a sports game or people have their certain cheers they do, or this kind of, I don't know, improve your life seminar or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all very religious-y also at the same time. And mega churches are so popular now.
Totally.
That's true. Yeah, it has a mega church vibe too as well. Yeah, interesting. Are there any puzzle pieces you get out of this scene at all, David? Just out of curiosity, like does it remind you of any other movies?
Well, as far as things that maybe inspired Yes Man, I mean, the only things that I really had down, and we'll talk more about things that maybe Yes Man inspired along the way, I'm sure, but things that might have inspired Yes Man, of course, The Secret was really big at this time, and talking about self-help. I feel like everybody had a copy of the DVD of the Secret adaptation and all that, power of positive thinking stuff. So I think that was kind of in the air when they made this movie. And then, of course, Liar, Liar. This is, it feels directly almost like a follow-up in a way.
Yeah, I mean, just the conceit that he has to do something. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
This moment actually gives me a very like Tom Cruise and Magnolia vibe, but I think it's supposed to because it's like what Tony Robinson or whatever that guy is, who's
Tony Robbins. Yeah,
Robbins. It's based on, I think, but it gave me very much that vibe.
Nice. Yeah, we're gonna play a clip. We're gonna play a clip now of this cult like leader of the group, played by Terrence Stamp, playing the character named Terrence, which I kind of love. So here's a clip of Terrence talking to Carl at this seminar.
What's your name?
Carl.
Let me guess, Carl. Someone talked you into coming here today, didn't they?
Yes.
And you're not sure about this, are you?
No.
You're dead, Carl. You say no to life, and therefore you're not living. You make up excuses to the people around you and to yourself. You're stuck in the same dead-end job you have been for years. You don't have a girlfriend. You don't have anything close to a girlfriend. And you lost the love of your life because she couldn't be with someone who didn't live theirs. Wow. And on most nights, you're so bored and filled with ennui, you can't even summon the enthusiasm necessary to masturbate. Am I right, Carl?
I have had some trouble.
We're gonna make a covenant, Carl. Do you want to make a covenant? The word is yes, Carl.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Once you leave this building, every time an opportunity presents itself, no matter what it is, you will say yes.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Yeah, what if I say the other word?
You'll be making a promise to yourself. And when you break a promise to yourself, things can get a little dicey. What do you say, Carl? Are you ready to make a covenant?
Yes.
Yes!
Yes.
Yes!
Again.
Yes.
Say it again.
Yes!
Make me believe it.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Yeah!
Oh man, that is so culty when I just listen to it too. You take someone who's really broken down and sad, you single them out in a group of people who all think the same way. You get into their personal life, into their head, and then they get encouragement only if they agree with you.
It's pretty perfect.
Whew. Sinister. I thought Terrence Stamp was perfectly cast in this movie too, though. I just thought
he's brilliant. Like when he kicks off his shoes and runs down.
That's the best.
I was like, he just decided to do that. That's magic.
Yes. If the molehill won't come to Terrence, Terrence will come to the molehill. So after the seminar, Carl is walking back to his car, and Nick's kind of keeping an eye on him. And a homeless guy asks Carl if he can have a ride. And Carl looks like he's going to decline, but then Nick's like, yes, of course he will. So Nick's kind of keeping him into the yes vibe. So Carl lets the guy get into his car. The guy asks for his phone, so he lets him use his cell phone. And he asks for money, so he gives him money. And he ends up in the end out of gas in Elysian Park. Is this a park that you're familiar with, Sybil?
It is. They're really at Griffith Park, but Elysian Park is, it is a park that there is in Los Angeles.
Does it have any kind of reputation? Because he seems scared by it.
I think all Los Angeles parks at night have a reputation. Lots of homeless people. You could be mugged. It's, dark.
But not an especially bad reputation.
Not an especially bad one, no.
Okay. So he's in the park, he runs out of gas, and he ends up having to walk down to a gas station. And it's at this gas station when he's kind of mumbling to himself that he ends up encountering Allison for the first time. She's got this hipster scooter helmet with eyes on it. And she takes a picture of him while he's bent over the gas can, mumbling to himself. And then she ends up giving him a ride on her scooter up to the park. She is a terrible driver, by the way. I don't know why this terrible driver shtick is so big in movies.
I think that it's supposed to add to her quirkiness, that she's not a terrible driver. She's just dangerously, I don't know.
She's just a bad driver.
She is, but I think it's supposed to be quirky. I think it's supposed to be everything about her character is so generic, quirky girl.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But this bad driver thing, it's a thing in Clueless. It's a thing in My Best Friend's Wedding. Cameron Diaz's character is this kind of unsafe driver.
That's because it makes women less threatening because they're not good at something, but they're still just blindly and blithely going around doing it.
You think that's what it is? I don't know. Maybe it's a theory. It's a theory anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, he has to say yes, and he has to be on the scooter. And she takes a picture of him while she's driving badly on the scooter. And they get up to the park, and Carl kind of mumbles something like she said, "Are you all set here?" And he's like, "Unless you want to stick around and make out." And then surprising him, she comes over and kisses him and gives him the photo. But then she drives off. So it's not like she left him her number or anything.
And let's talk about this photo for a second. First of all, she has the biggest camera known to man that she's driving with on the smallest scooter ever.
Yep.
And
that
in a
checks
world
out.
Where now we all have cameras in our hands that are super small. I literally was like, oh yeah, that would have been life right then. That would have been life.
You really don't understand hipster culture, Sybil.
I don't understand hipster culture even a little bit.
Because it wasn't like that was her only option for a camera. She purposely chose that camera for its look. So yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's all about things being inconvenient, but looking cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Did it look
like
cool?
a typewriter, using a typewriter instead of a computer? That's another, yeah.
Effing nerds. Okay.
So why do you guys think about his first meeting with Allison?
I mean, I think that it sets them up as he's in a place that's changing. He's in this cusp of change. And for me, I thought that at some point it was going to be that she had already taken this seminar or something like it. And that this is what happens later. You just start living that life, that yes life.
And did you see her as a cautionary tale or as a good example?
I thought that she'd be a perfectly fine example. I mean,
okay.
I thought her character didn't really make sense necessarily as a human being, but was fun for the movie, you know? Which kind of goes to that, the manic pixie dream girl kind of, thing. I mean, it really is what we have here.
Yeah. It's just it's very tropey.
I think for me, I have a different relationship to this character just because when I saw this movie, I was living in Portland, Oregon, and there are people in Portland, Oregon who are exactly like this character. Maybe not as many in LA, but in Portland at that time, the rent was such that you could afford to kind of be in kind of a minimally successful band and have a weird jogging photography class and just like have this whole life that was like this, right? I knew people who were sort of like this. There were actual manic pixie dream girls running around Portland. I might have even been sort of one of them for a while.
All right.
Yeah, everybody had like, the thing in Portland was like everybody had like 4 things going on at a time, like weird hobbies and stuff. So yeah, like you're a unicyclist or you're teaching some kind of yoga class or I don't know, whatever it might be.
You're a
What?
unicyclist.
Well, no, we have multiple
I know,
unicyclists.
but like that's the thing that you picked out. Like they're like a unicyclist, and also they do taxidermy. And the other thing that they really love is cooking sourdough bread with hearts on it. Like that's so very
100%,
like that.
something like
Right.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, she is a manic pixie dream girl in a way, but like she also like was relatable to me as a Portlander at the time. So yeah, and then there's more yes. Like Carl says yes to working on a Saturday and makes Norm really happy. There's computer yeses. I want to talk about these computer yeses. So he says yes to the ubiquitous penis enlargement offer on the email, right? This is actually something that the author of Yes Man, Danny Wallace, also ordered a penis enlargement thing that he was offered. So that's actually something retained from the book. And he says yes to Persian Wife Finder as well. And like, so I tried to do, and I will talk about this more later, but I tried to do a yes day in preparation for this episode. And it was like the internet that made it basically impossible to follow through. I went on Twitter and like within a minute of being on Twitter, I ended up having to go and listen to a podcast because they phrased it correctly, right? And I was listening to their podcast, and on their podcast, there was an ad for another podcast. So I had to go and listen to that podcast. And then that podcast tried to get me to join Summit Credit Union in one of their ads. And I was like, well, I have to tap out here because I can't join a credit union. So,
I should have promoted my Patreon on that day.
Yeah, totally.
That's right, David. You didn't know which day it was, though.
Yeah.
Now that I might have joined the credit union, I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, like it's just an endless bunch of shit to do, right? Like when you open your email, like how much of it is stuff like that?
Right.
Even with a spam finder.
All of it.
Yeah, nonstop.
I mean, I would definitely end up with a Persian wife. And I would have given money to some Russian baron.
Yeah, like in the book Yes Man, there's a segment where he actually does answer one of those Nigerian prince things, but he does kind of cheat it a little bit. He does it in such a way that he ends up not losing all his money. Like he opens another bank account, like an additional one, and he keeps trying to delay them in different ways, but still being agreeable. But he ends up flying to the Netherlands to meet one of their representatives.
So it's like meet their representatives. Now I want to know.
I'm not going to spoil it. You gotta look at. I'm maybe later I'll tell you, but I'm not spoiling it on the episode. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, I thought the internet thing was particularly funny in this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, and then his loan thing starts where he starts saying yes to people's loans. He says yes to a celebrity cake baker who bakes cakes that supposedly look like celebrities.
But nobody actually sees that celebrity. Like they're never accurate, apparently.
And then because of all these loans and because of coming in on Saturday, Norm gives Carl the promotion after all for showing initiative. So yes starts to make a positive change in his life. So then we've got the night out with friends scene. So Carl has been saying yes for a while, and he comes and apologizes to Peter and his other friend Rooney, and they kind of punish him by having him drink a lot of drinks and buy drinks for everybody else. I don't have friends who go out to bars, but I could see this being a thing that would happen if I did.
Right. Also, like, this is important to say that he says to his friends that I'm saying yes to everything. So that they know it, and they can, like, use it against him. And this is 100% what your friends would absolutely do.
What do you guys think of this scene? Did you enjoy it? Was it amusing to you?
I mean,
I thought it was pretty fun. I mean, I like when he's like, was I chewing gum before? After he makes out with the girl.
But, like, listen, he does that without consent. There's like kissing without consent. I was like super uncomfortable.
He's so
there are
fucking
things in
drunk,
this movie
though.
that would not fly today. For sure.
So you're okay that he's drunk so that he kisses girls? Is it okay if he rapes them too because he's drunk? No, consent is consent.
Sybil, it's not okay if he rapes her, but it's like
Nope, it's not okay if he kisses her either. Consent.
Okay, for me though, I don't hold him as responsible in a way as I would if he were sober and he really thinks the girl's asking him to kiss her. It's not right. But I don't think he's intentionally trying to be an asshole at the same time. It's maybe not modeling good behavior. I will give you that. I don't think it's modeling good behavior, but it doesn't make me hate the character.
I don't hate him, but I'm definitely like very this is like you asked me like things that I'm very uncomfortable.
Okay.
I'm very uncomfortable, and I'm very uncomfortable. I'm like I do not think that this is okay, because that's not all right. I don't care if you thought that, like, because you were drunk, you thought you could kiss me. No. And maybe, maybe in 2008, that was an okay thing to do.
Oh, it didn't even register in 2008.
Right. Because we weren't at the level yet where we're like, you know what? No, you don't do that. Like, you have to ask consent. Like, we didn't have those conversations. But when I watched this, these are things that I was like, oh, I'm very uncomfortable. This movie does not age well. If this movie was made now, that would not have happened, because they'd be like, no, we can't do that. Like, he'd go kiss like a mannequin or something, and they'd like laugh about it.
Yeah.
Like, he'd make out with like a doll, and they'd be like, he thinks that's real. Because there are ways that you could do this and it would still be funny.
It would not lead to the hilarious fight, though. It would not lead to what I think is a hilarious fight scene with this guy. Like, and he's just, Carl's like weaving all over the place. And like, I also love, I love the line where he says, if I win the fight, I'm going to take her to a ball. And he just says to his friend, every pretty girl deserves to go to a ball. I love that line so much. And then after he loses the fight, he says, she's never going to go to a ball. And then his friends say, no, she's not. That line always sticks with me. I sometimes just say it. She's never going to go to a ball.
I also really like when he says, I haven't fighted in a fight since grade 7.
Which also reveals him to be Canadian immediately. Grade 7. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I love that. Well, I love that scene. Maybe, Sybil, did you like the fight scene, or like, is it just too associated?
I felt that I was just waiting for it to finish.
Okay.
Like, I was not like, I didn't find it funny. I was just like, okay, so we're just gonna have this weird, like, a bunch of people are gonna stand around and watch some drunk guy get beat up. Okay,
dude, but it's so funny because like the scene where he punches the wrong guy and he's like, I'm the wrong guy, and then he goes, well, maybe you need to start being the right guy. That's why you got punched out, because you got the wrong attitude right out the gate. Like,
so that section, I totally laughed at. So I laughed at that.
That's part of it, and that's like that's part of
that part.
And he's using his self-help, like new mindset to like, even in his drunken state. It was so funny. I don't know. This whole scene I like. I don't know.
Yeah, I like it too.
Okay, yeah. The next scene is the one scene in the movie that I didn't really care for. So either, Sybil, do you want to tell about what the next scene amounts
to? So you, at the beginning of the movie, Jim Carrey walks out and he's just like, this old lady, his next door neighbor, she is, what is her name? Tilly or something?
Yeah,
Tilly.
Yeah.
She is always like, oh, come over to my place and like help me with this, or let me feed you, or whatever that. But he's always like, no, that's not ever happening. And he has to say yes when he sees her in the hallway. She's like, come on over. And so he comes over and he winds up, so this part I think is hysterical. He winds up like building shelves for her, putting up an entire shelving unit.
Yeah.
And, you're just like, things that you would never ask your neighbor to do. She's just like, you're going to do this. And then afterwards, she's like, can I pay you in some kind of way? Can I, give you something? And he's like, no. And she's like, would you like a release? And he's like, no, I don't want that. And he like escapes. He flees. But bad things happen because he has fled. He has broken his covenant.
Yep.
Yeah, he's broken his covenant. And so he winds up going back, and, she essentially gives him a BJ, and she like takes her teeth out and sticks them in the cup next to her. Like, obviously she didn't have teeth because she's old. And that doesn't happen in 2008. What? Like, people have their teeth nowadays. We're not living in the 50s.
There's people with dentures in their 50s and 60s. Okay, but that aside, keep going.
Yeah, but it was just, so this section is, he clearly doesn't want it, but he says yes to it. She does want it, so her consent is like yes, but his consent is kind of like, I don't really want to, but I guess I have to. And does he like it?
I mean, he ends up like being like, wow, how are you doing that at the end of the scene? So
he
it's
does.
like,
he winds up liking it, which is a little bit redeeming, but that the whole thing is framed around that she's this old lady and that she shouldn't make, like, that she's like a predator because she wants to give people blowjobs because she's lonely.
And they make her look as like old and frumpy as possible. Right? Yeah, she's wearing like socks and sandals and like a house coat, for God's sakes. There's something that doesn't happen in 2008, a house coat. And like, yeah, it's really, the actress is actually, Fiona Flanagan was 67 when the movie was filmed. Jim Carrey was 45. And by the way, Zooey Deschanel was 27. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there is a smaller age gap between Carrey and Deschanel, but Fiona Flanagan is not like so super old. Then again, Sybil, on the I Could Never Be Your Woman episode, you were arguing about there's a biological thing to us not being attracted to older people as much. So this goes against what you were saying on that episode. Like for me, I think it's a shame to make older people look deliberately unattractive. And I do agree there's an ageism to it.
I agree. Like I would have been, and I think that scene could have been done in a way that wasn't so like overtly uncomfortable. Like, let's say that she was, instead of her being so predatory, she could have just been like, she's like, let me give you a massage, or like maybe, he was like, this was really like, he did something, or he was like, this was really nice. I was glad to hang out with you. They had a conversation. Who knows if they had some kind of backstory.
Yeah.
It was very awkward. It's super weird. And in my mind, it never pays off.
Yeah, it was not, I did not enjoy this scene either. And also when I really thought about it, like, if she was so horny, wouldn't she then be just like asking, and she's his neighbor, wouldn't she like asking him to come over every single day after this? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'll just add that, like, yes, this scene is like probably the part that ages the worst of the movie, but like, I think that this is very indicative of the time, and everything was like still in that kind of like the 2000s extremeness and like, gross out humor and trying to be like as out there as possible. And that's just something that there's comedy. There's a whole side conversation that comedy is kind of dead right now. And there's not a lot of like very funny movies, but because it all kind of got swallowed into a side part of superhero movies. But in this era, though, the 2000s, comedies were like the biggest thing, and they were all trying to one up each other. And I think that's kind of what they're trying to do here, is just be the most out there as they could possibly be.
Yeah, like Farrelly Brothers, South Park, Apatow, the whole, everything was like this. Yeah, you're right. 100%.
Yeah.
So there's some more yeses. One of my favorites, and I think you like this part too, Sybil, was the Harry Potter party.
Yes.
Yeah, and Norm is so happy, like when he gets the email invite thing back saying yes, like he's checking it every minute. And they do this like funny face exchange in the bank, which I liked. Did you like that part at least, Sybil, the funny face exchange?
And I actually like their relationship. I really enjoyed their relationship. I think it's like over the top, but I thought it was really funny anyways.
Yeah. And then he says yes to other things. He talks to Mormons who come to his door, which I've done before. It's kind of interesting.
I actually really like that part. Just like the comic timing of it. We were wondering if you had a moment to discuss the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yeah, come in. Like it's just so quick and really funny.
They
must have been so happy. Yeah, they're just like, yay.
And when they're like not Girl Scouts come by and they're selling cookies, and he's like, I guess it's that time, and he just like whips out his like cash and is like, this is happening.
And then he just takes flyers down off a wall, flying lessons, guitar lessons, Korean lessons. And then there's a montage of him learning and doing things. He's going to the soup kitchen. He's giving out loans to people. And he finally agrees to see the band that the flyer guy, has been advertising, which leads to our next scene. Where
which, by the way, I really like that montage. We've talked before that I like montages. Yeah. I think that montage is set up incredibly well.
Yeah. I mean, you have to put a lot of this movie in montage or it wouldn't work. So, yeah. And Peyton Reed is a good montage artist as well. So,
yeah.
So at the club, Carl goes to see this band, and he is surprised to see the lead singer of the band is the Scooter Girl, who he later finds out is Allison. I'm going to play a little bit of the song, one of the songs that they play, because I fucking love this song. So here's a little bit of the band that she's in, Munchausen by proxy.
But don't call me 11, 'cause that's my rule now.
I love that song. I always think of the line, you can call me at 10:59, but don't call me at 11, 'cause that's my rule now. Like, I get that stuck in my head. Did this make any impression on you guys, or is it just me and my weird stuff?
No, I like it. I think it's really funny. It's very ridiculous and kind of overwritten, I feel like, but it's still very funny though.
Like it's like kind of be overwritten to be like the most like hipster band or something, or
Yeah, like it's too perfectly ridiculous, you know?
mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think it's supposed to be totally serious as a song or a band
Yeah.
for sure. And this fake band for the movie Munchausen by Proxy consists of Zooey Deschanel and the San Francisco band Von Eva. That band has not been active since the late 2000s, and their Wikipedia page says they broke up. But the band at the time wrote and recorded 4 songs for the movie's soundtrack. And I think Zooey Deschanel had a little input as well on the music. So that's just a little bit about that. Other songs on the soundtrack are by the band Eels. So that's the predominance of the soundtrack. But then you also hear stuff like Journey, and there's They Might Be Giant songs. So it's kind of all over the place. But I thought it was a well-organized soundtrack.
I will say I like the soundtrack. I think the music director did a great job.
Okay, so after the band performs, Carl and Allison talk, and eventually she invites him to her jogging photography class the next morning because she has a class where people take photographs while jogging, which my husband, the photographer, just kind of shook his head at, but didn't take too seriously.
Yeah, I actually did like the ridiculousness of that. Like I was just like, that's so over the top ridiculous. I'm like, I can't wait to see this class. I hope we get to see it. I was excited about seeing how this would pan out.
Yeah, and we do get to see how it pans out. But first, Carl gets invited to do an all-night bar crawl with Rooney and Rooney's friend Lee, who is a male nurse, which is apparently important.
Once again, they're like, hey, because male nursing is funny. You can't be, which they like talk about.
But they make him a cool character. I think that kind of plays against it.
Like I said, I was just like, okay.
Yeah, anyway, they go out all night and they're drinking a bunch of Red Bull, which I don't know if this was product placement or if they just like saw
this
the comedic
100%
potential.
Product placement.
I also feel that they could have just seen the comedic potential though, because Red Bull was like a huge cultural topic at the time. Like you said, David, a lot of stuff from like that time period, and Red Bull really dates this for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually I dated a Red Bull girl like
Really?
the year this movie came out, and
really. And then when you broke up, you didn't have any feelings about it. It was fine.
No, none at all. Zero. Yeah. I just moved on.
What was it like? Can I ask for a second? What it was like dating a Red Bull? Like, did she talk about Red Bull a lot, or did she drink it all herself? Was she always?
She was just out at parties giving out Red Bull, so I had like unlimited Red Bull to drink. So I was probably like Jim Carrey most of the time, just jittery.
You're like, my heart was going to explode out of my chest, but it was baseline at that point.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, so he shows up at like 6 a.m. at this jogging photography class in Griffith Park, and he's like so hyped on Red Bull. He has like one of those rave necklaces or glow necklaces around his neck, and he's like, I drink a lot of Red Bull. Would you like to drink a Red Bull? Try Red Bull. Red Bull. And he's doing all this crazy verbal gymnastics with that, which I can't really replicate. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I was fine
good.
with that. I thought it was very Jim Carrey, but like for me, I was like, I'm like, this is a good use of product placement, and I'm also excited to see like when he's gonna crash.
Okay, so yeah, and then they're doing this jogging photography class, and he's kind of jogging along with them in his suit or whatever, and then he does crash. And like, Sybil, was that a good payoff moment for you?
I did. I thought that was a pretty good payoff moment. I also liked like that he was into like everybody's in the background, like into the photography. If you actually watch the scene, because I rewound and watched this section again, I like what all the extras are doing, all the extra people are doing.
Mhm.
Like they're all really selling this jogging with these giant freaking cameras, which for me is absolutely like so ridiculously funny. I was like, this is so ridiculous. And then when he finally just like crashes, I'm like,
yes.
Yeah, that seems appropriate.
And he like literally crashes. He's like face down on the ground, like drooling.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. Okay, I love that part. So Carl and Allison then end up talking afterwards a little bit about their lives, and they then like it's kind of understood that they're going to like get together, you know, in the future. And the next time I'm cutting out a few of the scenes that we see in the interim, but the next time we see them together really is this Harry Potter party that he RSVP'd yes to. And I love this Harry Potter party because I used to hang out with Harry Potter nerds in the 2000s. I think I kind of became one of them actually because I have gone to Wizard Rock concerts, okay, where they play Harry Potter themed rock music, and I dressed up as Luna Lovegood, my interpretation of it. So I think I've earned my Harry Potter nerd
I would
status.
say that counts as you've earned it, yes.
But I started out being more Harry Potter nerd adjacent and going to my friends' parties, and they would like they knew the whole movie, like every word of it, right? They had this like thing they listened to called Wizard People Dear Reader, which was like a humorous commentary on Harry Potter. It's a whole universe, right? And people have their costumes and people go to conventions. It's like a whole thing. And so I love that they captured the essence of these Harry Potter nerds with all these really great costumes. They've got somebody's wearing like a Dobby head. Like,
yes.
There's this really sad looking Snape who's just absolutely perfection.
I was gonna say the Snape who's sitting in the back who looks like I don't know. I just put like a black robe and this like wig, and I guess that's as good as it gets. And he's like drinking a beer or something.
But he looks like kind of Snape. Like it's hilarious. They got like kind of a guy who looked kind of like Alan Rickman for this part.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So awesome. First of all, with this section, I literally stopped and was like, I mean, this is so ridiculous. Like, somebody didn't write this in a script that this just happened. But somebody's like, it's supposed to be a party. He's going to a party. Let's make it a Harry Potter party. It's going to be so over the top. And
that shit was huge in the 2000s. Like I said, exactly. I hung out with these people.
And I bet that as they did it, they had so much fun. Like they got super into it.
Yeah, they set up a Quidditch thing in there. Like Quidditch, there's also a Quidditch scene in the internship, which I think it came out a few years later. But like, yeah. The internship with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then little touch I just noticed this time, little nerd touch. They're playing a They Might Be Giants song in the background.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It's like, so they're nerds made this movie. They know.
They did. And so this scene is just really funny to me. And I like watching all the costumes in the background. I like the idea that this guy who like didn't even want to go out to like drink at a bar with his friends is now going to a freaking Harry Potter party and is dressed up.
Yes. But it's sad that he doesn't want to stay there to me. Like, I don't know. It's like, I feel like what? It's the worst thing you're watching a couple Harry Potter movies and then he leaves like when one of the better ones is about to come on because Norm goes, next stop, Azkaban. And then he and Allison book out. And Azkaban really has one of the best directors. So I don't know what you're doing.
Agree. It's also the best book in the series, in my opinion. If we're going to nerd out about Potter.
Order of the Phoenix. But yeah. Anyway. David, anything else about this party you want to say, or like, did we cover it? Or
I think you guys covered it. I'm actually an outsider here. I don't really know the Harry Potter series that well.
Okay,
I've only seen a couple of them, and I don't know. I missed that whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, I was say you don't really read, so that makes sense. Too. These books are kind of big.
Yeah,
I was deeply embedded in the culture, so yeah, it got it right. Yeah. Okay, and then we come to the Hollywood Bowl scene. And Sybil, you've seen She and Him at the Hollywood Bowl, you said.
I have.
Have you been to the Hollywood Bowl a lot?
I've been to the Hollywood Bowl many, many times, except the parking. Like, getting there and getting back is, like, dramatic, so I hate going. But terrible. It makes you want to die. It literally takes a piece of your life and soul and, like, kills it.
It really does.
It really does.
I've only been there once, and that's how I feel.
So did you like seeing it in this movie, or was that traumatic for you, Sybil?
No, I mean, I thought it was fine in this movie. I mean, there is a part of like suspending your disbelief. There's no way you could break into the bowl, not even a little bit. I would have been happier if he'd like had like one of the loans he gave to somebody, like he paid a guy, like as he walks in, he just kind of hands him like a buck or two or something, and that's how
would have been good. That would have been good, like in some kind of wonderful. They pay off or they know the janitor or something. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that you break into the bowl, not ever.
Yeah, so they have this scene where they break into the Hollywood Bowl together. They sing Can't Buy Me Love together on the stage. And then they have their first kiss. And what do you think about their chemistry in the movie, either of you?
I mean, they're fun. I mean, it's a comedy first, and I don't think that they're too worried about, like, giving it the full-fledged, relationship that it needs to have.
Yeah, I didn't really find much. It didn't like their chemistry didn't make me like go but I wasn't like, oh my god, they're going to be together forever. I was just like, this chemistry is weird, but okay.
See, I didn't feel it was weird. I felt they actually worked together very well. I think the actors seem to have gotten along very well, and like when I see them do interviews together, they seem to get along pretty well. And like, so I felt like it translated to their kiss and their like. I didn't feel like it was like hugely romantic, like Somewhere in Time or some crap like that, right?
Yeah.
But I did feel like, when they kissed, I was satisfied by it. I was like, oh, good. I'm glad they kissed. Okay. And there's this nice conversation they have then. They're sitting in the Hollywood Bowl, and Allison says she's not really concerned about like the success or the viability of her band or her photography. Like, she knows they don't have a wide appeal. She says, the world's a playground. You know that when you're a kid, but somewhere along the way, everyone forgets it. And I like that sentiment. It kind of takes the pressure off, like doing what you love. Like you can do it just because you want to. What do you guys think about it though?
I would have really liked this. So this is a section where I thought that like you're starting to really see the real person that she's supposed to be. And I was like, oh, this is great. And it would have been nice at this point if like Carrey had his character had like more of an epiphany about like, you know what? I'm not just a yes man. I'm a person who's making choices to do things because I do want to choose my life. This person's my relationship with her is altering who I am a little bit and how I'm seeing the world. Because I felt it was a very deep moment, and it does make her a real person, not just like this quirky pixie chick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me personally, I mean, that's kind of how I am. Like, I mean, I do so many different things, whether it's from, my music and podcasts and all the other stuff that I'm involved with. And I'm just kind of like doing stuff, and just enjoying the ride,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Carl ends up getting promoted at work because he's given out what the corporate guys call microloans, which I guess is essentially what he's done. He's given out loans to all these random people who came through, and apparently they're being paid back. Then we get to a scene where Carl has agreed to help with his friend Peter's fiance Lucy's bridal shower. And he's helping Lucy at the store, and there's a disgruntled Korean worker there. And this is when the Korean lesson part pays off because Carl starts speaking to her in Korean. And my students freaking loved this, let me tell you. Like, they would clip this all the time and show it in their presentations. They would all laugh and it would light up their faces. So I love it. I love hearing Korean in the movie because I miss Korea. So
I like this scene. I like the fact that one, he actually is taking like planning the shower seriously, because this is something where like you're starting to see him as a character like evolve. Like he's moving into this person that he's trying to be. And he originally was like, I didn't want to do this shower at all, but I'm a yes man. So I said yes. But then you can see he's actually taking it very seriously. Yeah. And I like the fact that I don't really understand why this Korean woman was so unhappy. This is literally her job. And I know that it's supposed to be that she helps people plan weddings, and she's never, she's always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
And let me tell you, there's huge pressure to get married in Korea still for women compared to in the United States. Like, I had a coworker who was 30 years old, and she was so panicked about getting married that like she married someone she didn't even like because she felt so much pressure to get married. Seriously.
Okay. Well, this is a piece that I was like, that was why, like, I wish I had more context, because I was like, I don't understand why she's so upset. She's not even that old yet.
Yeah, no, like it's still like Korea is definitely improving, and it has improved even since I lived there. Like the feminist movement is definitely developing quickly in Korea, but like there's a lot of holdover. Like like some parts of Korean culture, you feel like you're in the 50s or the 60s still. So yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I understood Sumi and her whole deal, and I also understood why she felt so cheered up when Carl spoke to her in Korean, because like, especially if you're an immigrant and like somebody reaches out to you in your language, and when you're in a country like America where most people don't bother, right? I think that makes a huge connection. So I like that moment too.
I did like that moment. I just recently had a moment like that. So I learned ASL so I could speak, because I wound up having clients who were deaf. And so I learned a bunch of ASL, and I was literally just standing at a Panda Express recently, and some guy was trying to take my bag, and I was like, hey, that's mine. And I realized he didn't look at me at all. And so therefore he probably didn't hear me because he was deaf. So I touched him on the shoulder, and then I said, that's mine in sign. I said, that's mine. Yours must be somewhere else. And he looked at me and he's like, are you deaf? And I'm like, no. He's like, how'd you learn ASL? I'm like, I learned it. And he literally was like, can I hug you? And I was like, go for it.
That's awesome.
Right. Because it's just like a big deal, and he's like, thank you. Even a little bit is better than all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is one of the best things that Carl said yes to, is learning another language. So, and you just never know how that's going to pay off in your life eventually.
True that. And you speak a bunch of them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't speak super well a bunch of them, but I speak adequately.
Speak it.
I speak about 3 adequately and 2 beginner. Yeah, let's say that. Yeah. So then they find out that somebody is attempting suicide right outside the store. Pretty unlikely, of course, but Carl feels compelled to go help because somebody said somebody needs to help him. And we get here a great cameo, not a cameo, but a supporting role with Luis Guzman. Do you guys love Luis Guzman? I love when he shows up in things.
I do. And if you don't know who that is, everyone, that he played the dad in Wednesday just recently on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he's all over the place. Yeah. And I'm going to play a little clip now of Carl going to help his character.
Hey, buddy.
Whoa! Who are you, man? Don't try anything. I'm gonna kill myself, so don't try to stop me.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
No, I don't mean okay. Just give me a second. I should say something to you here. Don't really know what it is.
Man, you're terrible at this. Are you even a cop?
Hold on a second, I'm thinking. Wait! I've got it.
Where you going, man? My man, hello?
Don't do it! I'm coming! Patience is a virtue.
What the hell you doing in there?
Wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. You could cut ties with all the lies that you've been living in. And if you never want to see me again, I would understand. I would understand.
Oh. What is it?
The angry boy a bit too insane. Icing over a secret pain. You know you don't belong.
Everyone I know has got a reason to say
You can put the past away.
wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. I could cut ties
to all the lies you've been living in.
And if you never want to see me again,
I would understand.
I would understand.
Anyway, it turns, as you can see, into a sing-along with the crowd. And I personally also love this scene. I don't know. How do you guys feel about this scene?
So I love Louis Guzman, and it's great to see him show up in anything, but I actually did not like this scene.
Okay, tell.
I think it just kind of stops the movie in its tracks, and it's kind of pointless. I don't know. It just seems
Really?
so... Yeah, I don't know. I just think
It
it's
feels
kind
very
of
out of
ridiculous.
place. That's how I felt. I was like, this is not. You could cut this out of the film, and the film could move
Oh.
along seamlessly. It does nothing.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's how I felt about this one. I got to admit, and like, and it sucks because I do love Louis Guzman, and it seems like everyone's trying to like really make a fun scene here. You know, Jim Carrey playing the guitar and singing and doing his whole Jim Carrey thing, but I don't know. I just didn't find it funny, and I didn't find it to have any point either.
well,
And
that's fair enough.
it's making fun of suicide. So yeah.
Okay,
So
to that point, I don't think it was trying to be super fun. I think there are parts where it's trying to be funny, but I think it was trying to be more like another example of like he just had a human connection with Sumi because of the Korean, and now he's making a human connection with Louis Guzman with the music. So like that's more how I read it. I didn't read this as like a supposed to be super funny scene. I read it as like his skills are causing him to make connections with people. And that's all.
No, I mean, like for that, I think that this scene would work. But in that case, I would have done it in a very different way. You know,
Okay.
like it just doesn't hit for me. And as I said, you could literally cut this out of the movie, and no one would be the wiser.
I still love this scene. Like, and my Korean students, again, this is another one that like was a personal favorite of theirs that they would always play. I can't even think of this song anymore. The song is Jumper by Third Eye Blind, which is actually about trying to prevent somebody from committing suicide. And it's from their 1997 debut album. But I literally, when I hear this song now, it's in Jim Carrey's voice. Like, that's how much this scene actually stuck with me. And I get what you're saying. Like, definitely people are more sensitive to mental health issues these days. Like, personally, I haven't tried to commit suicide, but I have been suicidal and just too apathetic to try to commit suicide. So as somebody who has dealt with depression for decades and suicidality, it doesn't offend me. Like, I really saw the human connection portion of it is more like what it is. And even like when you're in a really depressed mindset, there can still be these moments of like absurdity. So I think like they're treating mental health issues totally with kid gloves doesn't really work for me either. Like a lot of times people will talk to you in this voice, like, are you okay? Is everything all right? You know, when you're really depressed, and that's what not really people need. Does that make sense? Like depressed people who are in a suicidal state are also still just people who like sometimes humor will come into the situation, or they would appreciate someone reaching out with a song, you know, instead of
Yeah.
like what the cops who would have probably come would have done when they came.
Right.
Anyway.
That makes sense.
Anyway, I understand what you're saying though, Sybil. Like I did kind of play it a little more trivially than maybe we would like. The movie's definitely not.
So it's two front. Once I find that it wasn't per se necessary to the plot of the movie, and then two, I just don't like the way that it was done, and therefore it has me being uncomfortable I'm like, I just wish that it had been a different thing. They met at a bar. He met him on a bus.
Sure. And I felt touched by the scene, and I also really like music in movies, so it really wasn't mattering. It didn't matter to me if it like moved the plot forward so much. I was like, oh, I love a music scene. This is great. Like, and I felt touched. So, okay. Then Carl and Allison. The next big scene we see Carl and Allison get to go to the airport, and they're going to go on a random vacation. They're just going to go up to the airliner, and they're going to just like ask to go someplace random, and they end up the first plane out, and they end up going to Lincoln, Nebraska. Have either of you ever tried this? Like, just gone to a random destination?
Nope. I mean, not quite that quickly. I mean, I love travel, and so I've literally gotten like an email from like Travelocity or something saying, "Hey, $400 round trip to London, next weekend," and I'll be like, "Yeah, let's go do that."
I mean, that's close. I will give it. That's close.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah, because I did that. I did that once, and I went to London for 3 days, and that's it because the ticket was $400 round trip.
And have you ever gone to a destination that's like not like some marquee destination like London that like people would be like, well, why would you go there? Like, have you ever done that?
No,
okay.
But I think it's just because it's not, probably you don't get like alerts and flights and stuff.
Okay.
To tell like, hey, wouldn't you love to go to Nebraska?
I mean, yeah, now that this is now that I'm thinking about this again, though, part of me does want to try this like sometime this year, like maybe not a plane, but like a bus or a train, right? And just like go like wherever, like random place it shows up and like see what happens. It does sound fun. It kind of takes time though and money. So, but I might be worth doing once. Did you guys like the concept of this like random trip, or like are you just like I would never do that?
I love the concept.
Like
yeah, sounds like fun.
What about going to Lincoln, Nebraska in particular? Would that be someplace you would want to go?
I would have gone to Lincoln, Nebraska. I mean, I think that anywhere is interesting. Like if you've never been there, there's always something interesting in every place you could go.
Yeah, absolutely. Worst case scenario, probably get a good meal.
And in this movie, they end up going to the Telephone Pioneer Museum. Sadly, it was closed in 2018. So this is a nice historical record of that museum's existence now. They go skeet shooting, which Allison is also bad at.
And she tries to kill people because she's a female who's incompetent.
Yeah, I didn't love that. Yeah. And they go to a University of Nebraska football game, and they get like all dressed up in like football game gear, which, wow.
Which I love that, because that means, for me, I was like, these are people who are taking this and actually like wholeheartedly investing themselves. Essentially, they're becoming like the Harry Potter family, the Harry Potter, crew in Lincoln, Nebraska, getting down with the homies there and like going to a game 110%.
Yeah. Have either of you done that? Gone to like one of these big games and worn the costumes and all that type of thing?
No, God, no.
No, I've never done anything like that.
And have either of you been on a tour of a chicken slaughterhouse?
No, God, no.
I'd like to sit that one out, I think.
Yeah. That's another thing they do on their little tour, and Carl faints. And then like they're randomly walking down a country road, and Lee's like, why would they be walking down this country road? And I'm like, I guess they said yes to a ride, and then they didn't have any ride back or something. I don't know. Like, it is a little random. But they end up in this like barn in the like when it's raining, and they end up saying I love you to each other. And then Allison asks Carl to move in together, which he hesitates for a moment, but then he says yes, and this will become important a little later. But we're gonna leave that until after the spoiler section. So before we get into the spoiler section, we're going to talk a little bit about the concept of saying yes in our own lives. But first, I want to give our listeners the code phrase for our Yes Man book giveaway. So if you want to enter the drawing for the book, and it is a really good book, like trust me, like I laughed out loud several times, and I teared up a little at the end. And if you want to enter this drawing, please email us at feedback@everyromcom.com and include the code Munchausen by proxy. Like if you don't know how to spell Munchausen by proxy, no big deal. But just like send us in your best guess there. And remember, whether or not you want to enter the drawing, you can also email us with any comments you'd like us to potentially read out in a future episode. Let us know if there's something you said yes to in life that was maybe scary but turned out well. Or you can email us about a self-help book or program that really helped you. Or you can email us about the many points Sybil has brought up about this movie, because I know she would love to hear from you. And once again, our code phrase for the giveaway is Munchausen by proxy. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about saying yes. So I want to ask both of you, first of all, do you think you tend to say yes more often or no more often?
I think it depends on what it is. Like, meaning, like, is it personal things or is it like business things? Because I say yes to almost everything when it comes to like my projects and, you know, music and podcasting and things like that.
But personal things, it's like more mixed, would you say? Or like
personal things, it's more mixed because partially because I'm always so busy.
I'm very much a yes person, unless I 100% know that I'm not going to like that. So I've done 2 different times, 2 different years, in a whole entire years where I said yes to things I didn't want to do per se, to try to remind myself if like I really don't want to do this, or is this something that like I just think I don't want to do.
Did you get that idea from a specific book or program, or
No.
did you just come up with that on your own?
So I'm going to tell the first time I did it was the year that Trump he was voted in.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a year of what I called, I said, keeping yourself like open to things, because I felt that at that time we were so, as a people, we had forgotten how to compromise. And we were so like ingrained in what we thought was right. And we couldn't see the other side. And I felt that was so true that I was like, you know what, to keep your gray matter functioning, you really need to continue to do new things, experience new stuff, and listen to other people. And so I did a challenge for the entire year where if somebody asked me to do something, or they talked to me, I would literally work on seeing their side to the best of my ability. And if they asked me to do something that I didn't want to do, I'd probably still say yes.
And how did it?
I hate outside. I hate camping. I hate everything about outdoors. I was an outdoorsy person that year. It was terrible.
Oh no.
It was wretched. It was absolutely wretched. But there were things that I still say, like I went to a poppy field and it was beautiful and wonderful. So so if somebody had asked me like, let's go look at the poppy flowers, I'd be like, hell no, I'm not doing that. It's like outside in the sun with bugs. No.
So were there any other?
And I loved it.
Yeah. Were there any other experiences from that year that like you remember particularly, or encounters or anything?
Yeah. I mean, I think it really softened me to being more empathetic about what like other people's causes and their belief structures. I'm very black and white and I don't live in a gray area very often. And I started seeing kind of like the places that we meet. And that I also learned for myself that I don't need you to agree with me, and I don't need to agree with you, but I 100% need you to understand my opinion, and I need to understand your opinion, and we need to be able to respect each other's opinion. And it's okay that we don't agree, but we absolutely see each other's side, because the ability to see somebody else's life, idea, whatever, helps you constantly be moving towards more knowledge.
That is like a very deep interpretation of a yes year, I think. Like, yeah, you're saying yes to like like hearing people's minds and their viewpoints as well. So that's interesting. So did you have like any ground rules for your yes year, like in general? Like, did you have like, I must say yes to this type of thing, or was it more like a feeling, like you did it by feel?
I generally would say yes to everything. And this is where I like the idea of like opportunity, right? So if my gut would just be like, nope, you don't want to do that, I'd be like, why don't you want to do that? So it was a lot of it was internally looking at your myself, right? And figuring out, why don't I want to do that? Is it because like I actually just viscerally don't? Or is it because like there's a reason, and can I get around that reason?
Okay.
Right. And I think the only ground rules was my first instinct when anytime I immediately said no in my head, I literally had to stop and be like, what if I said yes?
Yeah. But you were not doing things like every email you got, it asks you something.
No, there was definitely no penis enlargements happening, and I wasn't giving money to causes I don't per se believe in. But I donated more that year than any other year I've ever donated.
Yeah.
So 25% of my income went out to donations, because like I'd be like, you know what? somebody asks me to donate, as long as I like am not against this cause, I will give you money. And maybe it's $25, but I'm going to do it.
So David, have you ever tried anything similar or done a yes experiment of any kind?
No, I definitely have not. I joked with you when you asked me to be on this about how like I'm like a yes man of podcast guesting. I've been on like 24 podcasts this year alone, not counting my own, and I already have like 4 scheduled for 2023. So like I say yes to a lot of stuff, but I don't have any kind of like I've never like done it as an experiment where like I have to say yes to everything. I just tend to say yes to a lot of things, and I work on a lot of projects, and I just do all kinds of stuff. I make myself really busy though, so it's like I can't even imagine like having a hard set rule where it's like, okay, for this amount of time, I have to say yes to everything because some things are going to get in the way of other things, and I just don't even,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how that's going to work out.
Oh yeah, no, that's totally like I could totally see that becoming a problem very quickly. And Danny Wallace in his book, like it definitely becomes a problem for him very quickly. And some of the ways he has to like manipulate his schedule are like, whoa, yeah. And like I said, I have not done like a yes year or anything like that, except for I tried to do a yes day. I say tried for this podcast because I tried to follow the rules like that Danny Wallace has or that Carl has, where like you have to do stuff from the internet too. And like almost nobody in person asked me things. Okay. Like this was actually kind of sad to me. Like, except for working at the library where like people will like, can I have a guest pass for the computer? Like that's an obvious yes, right? That's part of my job. Right. But I was really sad because like Lee barely asked me any questions that would require a yes or no, my husband. And then like people in my life did not really ask me to do things. And I was like, this is kind of sad. And I think in some ways it's because when I get depressed, I do like when I'm like not depressed, I tend to say yes to things. But when I get depressed, I tend to say no to things. And I think over the years that has taught some of my friends to like not ask me things. You know what I mean? It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad that way. So I don't really get invited to things. I've often had to be the person to make a party too. I think I attract a lot of introverts in my life. So a lot of times I'm the one who's having to set up a party. And I kind of would like that to change. So I'm kind of contemplating like what I can do to cause that. I don't think a yes day is going to cut it.
I will say that, one of the things I did is I was out there. Like I was on social media. I had a hashtag for it. Like I told everybody that this is what I was doing.
Oh.
And so I definitely had, I think because I was more open and receptive to it.
Yeah.
People would ask me to do things like, okay, Sybil, you're supposed to say yes to everything. So, let's go see let's go see like them feeding the seals at the aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to this like nightclub on the Queen Mary. And I like, oh my God, I so don't want to do that. But yes, of course.
Yeah, no, I think yes is a little more complicated too now that COVID is a reality in our lives. Like, too,
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of things I want to say yes to that now I'm like a little bit reluctant to do because of COVID. So that kind of sucks. I did on my yes day though, I did end up going, like I'd planned to go anyway to the solstice bonfire in my neighborhood, but like it was really cold that day. And I think maybe the yes day is what put me over the hump to actually go instead of being like, well, it's so cold and Lee doesn't really want to go. And like, maybe I'll just stay home. You know what I mean? So I do think it put me over that hump, which is good.
And wait, I have a question. Did you enjoy it? Did you have a good time?
I mean, I did. It wasn't like a life-changing good time or anything though, right? And like,
it doesn't have to be a life-changing good time. It's just like, I was glad that I went. Like I had a good time. I wasn't unhappy that I went.
I'm happier that I went than if I hadn't have gone. And I would have been like, oh, like, I wonder what that would have been like. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there is a point where like, listen, at a certain age, you make the decision. You're like, I don't do things I don't want to do anymore. Like I don't placate people. I don't go to stuff because like I'm supposed to. But it is good to remind yourself that maybe the things that you think you don't like, you're keeping yourself away from things and possibilities and opportunities that could be awesome.
And since this is a self-help series, I wanted to bring up a couple other yes books in addition to Danny Wallace's books. So there is a Yes Day children's book that was written by Amy Krauss and Tom Lichtenfeld from 2009. And that was later turned into a movie, Yes Day, in 2021, which I don't love that movie, but it's more of a kid's movie. Then there's Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes from 2015. I've read most of that in preparation for this podcast, and it's more of a philosophical yes. Like she was going to be open to people's invitations, not so much like a stunt, but more of like a deep kind of like, I'm going to be open to invitations. I'm going to expand things. I'm going to do things that scare me. Have you read that one, Sybil?
I have not, but I mean, essentially that's pretty much what I did. I had a Year of Yes.
Yeah, I think you would vibe with that Shonda Rhimes book. Yeah.
I like Shonda Rhimes too. I'd probably read it.
Yeah. And then I read another book, which isn't specifically about saying yes, but it's called I Dare Me by Luann Kahn from 2014. And in this book, she basically just said she had to do a new thing every single day of the year. And that's a really interesting read too.
Oh,
And
that
kind of
is
inspiring.
interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
She did some really wild and interesting stuff starting off the year with a polar bear swim. So yeah, I recommend all those books. Well, I haven't read the Yes Day, but I recommend the latter two books, the Shonda Rhimes and Luann Kahn book, if you're interested in more affirmative reading. So do you think there's anything that you are not saying yes to at the moment that maybe you would like to say yes to, or that you think you should?
Oh, that's really hard, because if you think you should say yes, then you probably have already said yes.
Maybe not. Like, are there things like you think that maybe you're not saying yes to because they kind of scare you or something like that? I think for me, I'll say that I'm not saying yes to travel right now because I have worries about finances and I hate flying on planes. They scare me. And also, like, trying to choose one is overwhelming for me. But I really would like to travel in 2023, like more, and shake this up. So that's what I'm going to say. I should say yes to more travel.
That's a good answer, because I kind of feel the same way. Like there's so many barriers to traveling, and I want to do more of it.
I just got back from Japan. I was in the Maldives. I went to Costa Rica. I was in where else was I this year? I was in Colorado. I had a event in Kansas. I mean, I've been on planes this year. I was barely even home because I've traveled so much. I mean,
okay, so what are you resisting, if anything? So, but what are you resisting?
What I think I have this conversation all the time on my podcast about things that stop me are perfectionism. So like, I don't want to launch this thing because it's not good enough yet. Or like, I could just tweak this a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so for me, a lot of it comes down to perfectionism, and it's almost always about my career and the things that I'm doing. Like, I have an eyebrow guide right now I've been working on for a year, that it's ready to go. I just have not launched it yet.
So you got to let go a little, maybe letting go of perfectionism is your yes.
Saying yes, that is a huge one. There. I talk about it all the time on my podcast, Confessional. It's the idea of perfectionism and probably also imposter syndrome, I think are kind of go hand in hand for people.
Well, I'm glad we had this talk. I'm glad to find this out. So yeah. All right. And any more about yes, or should we move on to the spoiler section?
Oh, I'm so ready for that spoiler section.
Of course you are. Okay.
I love the spoiler section. I think that we should spoil all the time, and that's my philosophy.
Okay.
Nice.
She says yes to spoiling movies. All right.
Yes.
So we're now going to begin the spoiler section. If you have not seen Yes Man, go ahead and check that movie out. Or if you just don't care about being spoiled, you can still stay with us. But either way, spoiler section begins now. And Sybil, tell us about this scene where Carl and Allison get back from their trip and they are at the airport again.
Okay, I'm going to actually go back a little bit to where we were, where he gives a hesitation. So, in Lincoln, she just was like, oh my God, we should move in together, as like you would do when you're super excited about something new. And he has to say yes, but he hesitates because he knows that this is not a good idea. And this is a point where, because he hesitated, apparently that was an implied no to the universe, by the way. So it's implied no to the universe, which is why everything else at that point from this point on in his life goes like horribly wrong. Would you say that's correct, Jen? Like, this is how this movie is supposed to be?
I never thought of it that way, but I like that. Okay.
So they get back to the airport, and when they're there, essentially they get pulled over by who's the governing agents? It's not
probably Homeland Security. I know, TSA, Homeland Security.
It's not the TSA at that point, it's Homeland Security.
Okay, well, whatever.
Okay,
yeah.
So they get pulled over by Homeland Security, and Homeland Security is curious why this guy would want to be going to Nebraska, last minute, paying, I don't know, maybe cash, I don't even know, and he's got some red flags as well, because he's been like giving money to all these potentially sketchy organizations.
He's on Persian Wife Finder, so that connects him in their minds to Iran. Then he's had flying lessons. He's given a loan to a fertilizer business, and he's taken Korean lessons. This is going off the whole George W. Bush axis of evil shit that was so big in the 2000s.
And so they're looking at him from a perspective of like, hey, this guy could be like a potential terrorist. And he's just like, I'm just living my life. So, he has to call Bradley Cooper, who apparently is a lawyer, which I don't think I understood until that point. And is like, I'm having trouble. I'm in like essentially Homeland Security prison, which is just an airport. You know, you're just there in the airport for life. And it winds up coming out in front of, his, new friend here that he has to say yes to everything. And that might be what has colored their relationship.
Yeah, Allison gets like so angry at Carl here, and she just like dumps his ass. And for me, I don't understand it. For me personally,
I don't understand it either. I think that she's a little over the top with this. I understand why she would be mad about him saying yes to moving in together when they don't really want, he might not really want to. But like for everything else, like I don't think that she deserves to be this angry.
Maybe the Persian wife finder, that's a little weird. Yeah.
True.
Faranoush, who I love. Faranoush as a character, actually. I love her, but I didn't talk about her much in this episode, but she's sweet. I don't know why she hangs around with Carl though. She'd probably do better. So
I think because he's paying for her.
Is he? I don't understand what this Persian wife. I thought it was just like they set you up with a date or something, and like then why is Faranoush still hanging around? I don't know. Anyway,
I'm pretty sure Faranoush has been paid for like a Persian bride to come out.
Seriously?
That's what I thought it was. Okay, David, you get to weigh in on that. Who's Faranoush?
Yeah, I'm an expert at this. Yeah, I have absolutely no idea. I was just like, it's just weird. Like that's all it is. Like I don't think it makes sense either way. So.
Okay. I'm glad Jen and I live in different worlds. I'm like, no, it's like when you buy the Russian brides, right? So she's buying like a Russian wife.
I just thought it was like a matchmaker site, and Faranoush lived in the States and wanted to find a husband or something. I don't know. And I was like, okay. Yeah. Anyway.
I like that much better, by the way. I like that much better.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nicer.
I mean, she was already pretty fluent in English and seemed comfortable in the States. So like she gave me the impression of someone who just happened. Anyway, we don't have to go into Faranoush anymore.
Okay, go ahead. Well, okay. The mystery of Faranoush will continue.
Oh man, we'll have to join PersianWifeFinder.com to find out. So, which I don't know if that's a real website.
Regardless, Zooey Deschanel's character gets very, very angry. Like she's like, we're breaking up, essentially, right? And I think her biggest reason is because their relationship isn't real because he's just had to say yes to things.
Yeah. So I don't really buy it, but then we get this whole period where like she's not with him and he's still living his life. Carl keeps trying to contact Allison. He goes to her concert. She tells him he can go jump off a bridge. So this leads to our bungee jump sequence, which, I think it was awesome. Knowing that it was actually Jim Carrey and it was his first bungee jump makes me like the scene. Otherwise, I was like, no big deal. Do you guys like that scene? Or
I actually love this scene. This is the one of like, hey, he had to go jump off a bridge, but good, he found a way to do it without dying.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right, so you guys, not the music scene, but you like the bungee jump. Okay, I got you. I got your vibe. Okay, so then we have another scene that ties up kind of Norm's story where he's holding a 300 party, but Carl has to go, like from the movie 300, and Carl has to go fire him at the party, which he's crying in his like 300 costume.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go. There is a tiny montage sequence essentially of where like essentially Carl is trying to continue living the yes man life while trying to get his girl back. But none of it, he's not like in it as much. Like he doesn't feel it as deeply. And you can tell. It's a well done montage of the sequence stuff.
But to be fair, he doesn't go back to where he was at the beginning of the movie either, which is good.
No.
Like they still show him out there in the world. So I like that.
Right. Totally. Yeah. But I love this 300 party. Also fantastic. I love that they're Spartans. And I also like that Norm takes this firing incredibly well instead of just getting like flying off the handle and being like, you're the worst friend ever. He's just like, I guess you had to do this and I get it.
Yeah. Norm is wonderful. I love him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we come to Carl has agreed to hold Lucy's bridal shower, and I love how like everyone from the movie is there. I mean, if it were my bridal shower, I might not like that everyone from the movie is there, but like pretty much every cast person you've seen in this whole movie shows up there at the bridal shower, and Carl sets up Norm and Sumi, which I like. I ship that. And then Rooney hooks up with Tilly, the neighbor, the old neighbor, which again is played for a joke, but yeah. After the party, like Stephanie was at the party. He invited Stephanie to the bridal shower. Stephanie calls Carl up on the phone crying, and he goes over to her house, and Stephanie starts to seduce him, starts kissing him. Carl starts going with it, but then he says no. So this is Carl's first.
He says no, the dirty word no.
This is his first definitive no. He just like, he's been changed by his experience with being with Allison. But Carl becomes convinced that he's been cursed if he disobeys the covenant.
Well, he leaves the building and he gets stuck in the elevator or something, right?
Yeah.
Like a bunch of events happen that make him seem like he's cursed.
Yeah, but still, like I don't know. It's a little, I don't think I would think I was cursed. Would you think you were cursed?
I mean, if all those bad things happen to me, yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
Maybe.
Okay. All right. So you found it believable. Okay. So he sort of his solution to this is he sort of stalks Terrence to his car. He's sitting in the back of Terrence's convertible. I love this bit, by the way, too. Terrence is listening to his own audiobook, and it's playing this ridiculous part. Chapter 26, words which rhyme with yes. Guess, mess, Tess, that's a name.
I like that.
But also, I was very disturbed by the fact that Carl like had to go stalk him in his car. Why couldn't he just meet him at the event?
I know.
Why do you have to be so creepy like this? Once again, Carl, I'm stressed out by you.
So we could have this car accident scene, apparently, and then they would both end up in the hospital together. So he could be wearing a hospital gown for the final scene of the movie, obviously, Sybil. Don't you see?
Obviously, this is the reason. 100% true.
Priorities. We need to see Carl driving a Ducati in a hospital gown.
There you go.
And at the hospital, Terrence tells Carl there was never a covenant. I was just riffing. Like, sometimes you have to say no to stuff. And Carl listens to him, but he didn't listen to Peter. Peter's like, I just said the same thing. You have to say no sometimes. You didn't have a British accent, Peter.
And then the male nurse is there, and he's a male nurse. And that's
but he's
also
awesome. The male nurse Lee
he's
is
a male
awesome.
nurse. That's the only point of his job is he's a male nurse. That's his
but
character.
Lee is awesome. I like his character, and he lends Carl the Ducati that Carl gave him the loan to get. So we've got so the scene on this Ducati. Did you guys know anything about what a Ducati was before you saw this movie? Because literally, I did not know what it was.
I knew it was a motorcycle.
I've heard the word before.
Yeah. I didn't know like what a Ducati was. Apparently,
it's like the Teslas or the Maserati of like motorcycles, right?
Yeah.
They're like super fancy.
Apparently, like they're a big deal and they have more power than a lot of other motorcycles. The model for this movie is called the Ducati Hyper Motard 1100S. If you buy one today, it sells for around $15,000, and I think $15,000 is like the low end for Ducatis. So maybe it cost more in 2008. I don't know. So like Carl like borrows this Ducati. He escapes. He realizes he has to go talk to Allison. He borrows the Ducati from Lee. So he's racing down the road with the Ducati in the hospital gown. His butt's hanging out the back. I don't know. Like this scene doesn't do much for me, but it is energetic, and it uses Separate Ways, the Journey song from the opening of the movie. It pays off the promise of that action-packed song.
I feel like this was the end of a lot of comedies of the 2000s. It seems like almost every Judd Apatow movie ended this way, with someone like racing off to get the girl or whatever. 40-year-old virgin, he's on the bicycle,
Yeah, for sure. So for this scene too, Carrey did some of the driving, but for the really complicated trick scenes, it was either a stunt driver or they made a special rig for some of the close-ups. So he didn't do any of the super fancy Ducati driving in this movie, which I mean, I'm sure you guys realize that. Carl arrives at the jogging / photography class, and he's doing this like donut like thing that's making smoke go up. And so he gets to walk through this like cloud of smoke, take off the helmet, and like show up to see Allison. And like, I think one of the guys says, "What an asshole."
Yes, he does. Because he makes all this smoke. Also, this is the observatory, which is a huge section in Los Angeles. And the day that they shot, you have amazing views. Which is not usually true. It's often just covered by smog. But you have amazing views this day at the observatory, which is like pristine.
Yeah, the Griffith Observatory, which we've seen in so many movies, like things like Rebel Without a Cause and stuff like that. It's an iconic location. Yeah.
So I actually this is a piece that I think paid off, that like all the smoke is made and like he walks through it as if it's like coming out of fog or something.
Yeah.
And makes him look all badass. And then because somebody says, "What an asshole," I'm like, yes, I'm here for this. Because that is so incredibly true.
I don't think
that is what somebody would say.
Yeah, that is true. That's what somebody would say.
So I laughed really hard. It got like one of the biggest laughs from me. I'm like, yeah, what an asshole.
Okay. So I'm going to play a little bit of the speech he makes now to Allison after he's walked through the fog.
Look, I know the philosophy has some holes.
Oh, you think? Seems pretty airtight to me.
But if I hadn't done that, I never would have met you. Because the old Carl didn't think he was enough for anybody. I thought if I said yes to things and got involved with people, sooner or later they'd find out I'm not enough. I didn't think I had anything to share. But now I know that what I have to share is pretty huge. And I want to share it with you.
Do you mind, Reggie?
Seriously, dude.
Sorry. This seemed interesting.
And even if I had met you, I never would have asked you out. You were the complete opposite of me. You did things and had friends and sang in rock bands and made life happen. You weren't scared of anything.
You don't think I'm scared of anything? Who do you think I am? I'm scared of a lot of things.
And I'm scared too. So let's be scared together.
I don't know what you want me to say.
So just say yes. But only if you really want to. And can you do it kind of soon? I think I'm starting to get a chill.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Well?
Maybe.
Come on.
I'm not gonna say that word.
Okay, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's good.
And here they kiss. So yeah, this is our happy ending for the characters. Although Sybil thinks that Allison could do better, apparently.
I think she could do better for sure. But at that point in the film, I actually was like, this speech is the stuff that I wanted to see during the film, because he's gotten to this point. But we actually haven't seen him like have this epiphany and growth, really. And I would have loved to see that in more of an arc, unless it's just like a dump at the end. But it's a 2008 film, so like whatever.
It's the ending it has to have for this kind of comedy. You know, it's not particularly that deep or anything like that. And it doesn't, like we were just saying, like there's not that much of an arc for the character, but like it's where it has to go.
Yeah. I do like how the speech gets at like the reason that he was saying no, or that he wasn't saying yes, that he was afraid, essentially that like he would be shown to be inadequate, or that he would be, maybe embarrassed or something. Because I think that's so true of so many people, right? Like they'll like avoid, getting close to people, or they'll avoid trying something that might make them look stupid. Like it's kind of getting at the reason, but behind a lot of people's nose. So I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been maybe.
And I thought it was a good speech. So how did you feel about their kiss?
I mean, I felt it was like a medium kiss. Like I felt like it lingered long enough and it was believable and plausible. It wasn't like a moonstruck kiss where I'm like, ooh, passionate. But it wasn't like a lame kiss that you see in a lot of contemporary romantic comedies where they barely let anyone peck each other, which is starting to piss me off. Okay. Like, I want you back, which I love otherwise. They don't let people kiss long enough. It's starting to annoy me.
Yeah, I thought like at that point I was like, this is not a bad kiss. I was okay for this kiss. I'm like, you remember when you asked before, I'm like, I didn't feel their first kiss. They had like chemistry. I'm like, oh, well, no, you know what? Maybe I can see it now. Maybe a little bit at this point, at the end.
Okay.
So I was there for it.
Any kiss opinions, David? This is the kind of hard-hitting journalism we do on this show.
That's correct.
Yeah, no, I can't say I have much of an opinion on the final kiss. It's there. It does the job.
Okay. All right. I think that is actually an adequate assessment of that kiss, though. So, the credit sequence is got stuff in it, too. So, first of all, we have another Jim Carrey movie with a song named after the title of the movie, the song Yes Man, which is also from that band Von Eva in this movie, Munchausen by Proxy. Like the song, dislike the song, don't care?
Nah, it was fine. I don't think I noticed it.
I don't think I even realized it.
Yes, man, let's go for a ride. There's so many things that we can try. I can sing it, sorry. Okay. Anyway, also in the end sequence, you're also probably distracted from the song by this like roller suit that they're trying out. Like earlier, they had this guy who supposedly invented it, trying to get a loan for it. And now we get to see the payoff of that as well. So like everything fucking pays off in this movie. Actual roller suit in this movie was invented by a French man named Jean-Yves Blondeau. It's a 32-wheel roller suit that you put on your whole body so that you can like actually be prone on the ground and rolling. And he invented this in the mid-90s. He calls the sport with these roller suits buggy rolling, and he's often referred to as the roller man. So I needed to look into this. You guys understand why, right?
Sure.
I mean, I understand.
Absolutely.
Of course.
And like these roller suits, you can get up to speeds. Blondeau has gotten up to speeds of 78 miles per hour in these roller suits. And so in the movie, the people actually using the roller suits on the road, like face down, are Blondeau and a stunt double for Deschanel. So it's not Jim Carrey and Deschanel doing this. They just like rollerbladed into a pad so you could see them start the sport. It's apparently really hard to do. Like the stunt person had to train for it. Also, this is not the only movie to feature buggy rolling, the sport. Blondeau trained Jackie Chan to use the suit for the 2012 movie Chinese Zodiac, which I have not seen, but now I kind of want to watch.
I've not seen this either, but now I'm fascinated because I do love Jackie Chan films.
Yeah, and like it's so awesome that he got to teach Jackie Chan something. I mean, think about that. Like, who gets to say that they taught Jackie Chan a new skill?
Yeah, for sure.
And so these days, Blondeau is apparently very popular on TikTok. And he has a website called buggyrolling.com where you can actually order these suits and parts for the suits. And the suits cost around 6,000 euros to start. And like, so David, you already answered this. You wouldn't want to use this suit.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
And I gotta be honest with you. Hell no. That I would also rather bungee jump than do that because it would be over faster and have less chance of death.
If I were in my 20s and I could be on a road without cars and without a cliff to plunge off of, I would 100% do it. Otherwise, no. So I would have to.
What are you even seeing while you're doing it? You're just seeing the pavement as you're rolling by?
It would just be like the physical sensation sounds I love roller skating. So like the idea that I could roller skate with my entire body. And when I was a little kid, I always wanted to be in the luge, like in the Olympics. And like just that quickness just seems so exciting. Yeah. No, you guys don't see the appeal at all. Okay.
No, God, no.
All right, so we're wrapping up the movie now. And do you guys have any final thoughts about the movie? Like any favorite scenes that you didn't talk about, or favorite moments, or things that we didn't talk about that you really hated?
I feel like we talked about pretty much everything here. I think that, there's some funny Jim Carrey moments, like, you brought up the Red Bull scene, things that are like just classic Jim Carrey. And a lot of that was really good. And, some of the yes montages are really fun. And we've talked about some of those as well. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything we didn't quite get into, though. We kind of got to all of them.
Any other puzzle pieces you'd like to mention, David, like, or inspiring future movies or anything like that?
Yeah, I will say, like, this movie has come up as a puzzle piece. I think if I didn't miss any 3 times on piecing it together, the movie's Brittany Runs a Marathon.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, just the kind of like saying yes to trying to better your life in ways and everything else that comes with it. Also, The Way Back with Ben Affleck as a recovering alcoholic. And then just last year, the Oscar winner, Coda, it came up as a puzzle piece there. As just trying something new and trying exciting things that'll open up your life in different ways. So it definitely, like, that kind of self-help kind of thing, it's out there in movies a lot of the times.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I haven't seen the latter 2 films yet, so I will have to check them out. Yeah. Okay, so one more thing I want to talk about before we end the episode is just comparing the movie Yes Man to the book Yes Man. And I'm going to try to do it kind of quick. First of all, I want to say I recommend this book. It is very moving. It is funny. I laughed out loud several places in this book. Danny Wallace himself, the author, he's not like a guy who just had a regular boring life and then decided to do a yes year and had to deal with all regular boring life stuff. He was like a BBC producer who was able to work from home a lot. So it's kind of easy for him to do this stunt where he said yes to everything. And I think he kind of conceptualized it too, thinking it would be a book in the future, because before Yes Man, he had already written a couple books, including Join Me, a book about accidentally starting a cult, which involved performing random acts of kindness. He's an interesting dude. And he's a good writer. He has a really great writing style. I totally want to read more of his books now. Yeah, but basically, there's some things that are in common. Like the basic rules are pretty much the same. You have to say yes to absolutely everything, including ridiculous things like the internet requests and so forth. Wallace even took it a little bit of a step further. He started putting out ads for people to call him and talk about stuff. He started sort of trying to bring more yeses into his life, which was kind of interesting at times. But
so he's fishing. He was fishing for yeses.
Yeah, sometimes he started fishing for yeses. And a lot of the best stuff in his book involves just people that he just met randomly, like groups that were meeting up to talk about metaphysical or out there UFO stuff, right? He became involved with these people and got to know them. Activists for peace, he got to know them. All these different human connections he made were very fascinating. He also had a group of friends, just like in the movie Yes Man, that would always invite him out for drinks, in London at the pub or whatever, right? So he had that friend group bringing him out of his shell. So that's a similarity. But the way they get into saying yes is totally different. Because in the American movie, it's this self-help seminar, it's this product, right? It's this commercialization of yes. But in the book, he just happened to sit next to this older guy on the bus. And he was talking to this guy, and the guy said to him, "You should say yes more." He just said, "You should say yes more." And for some reason, it stuck with him. And then he decided, that's what I'll do. I'll just say yes to everything. So this like totally random encounter led to this.
That's really interesting. I mean, especially because he'd probably lived a very like interesting life based on like what he did for a living.
Yeah.
So I wonder if like people invited him to do things and whatever. He'd be like, "I'm busy. I can't do it," or whatever. And then he was like, "Dude, maybe I should open that up more."
Yeah, it sounds like he was in kind of a rut. Like he also went through a breakup, like Carl did in the movie. I think like he was a little fresher from his breakup. I think so. It wasn't like 3 years ago or something. So there's that element in common, and just like he just wanted to kind of expand his horizons, I guess. And yeah. And both the book and the movie saying yes leads to a lot of good things. Like Danny Wallace also gets more job opportunities as a result and starts getting more into television where he had been more in radio. And they both end up having like a romance develop through saying yes more. So like a lot of things
that's
are
interesting.
common. Yeah,
that's interesting.
But if you read this book, it's totally not going to be spoiled by seeing the movie because most of the stuff is not the same. Okay, like the book is much more like everyday events, like compounding on each other. Some really hilarious bits, like the trip to the Netherlands is a huge highlight. He gets involved in some nightlife in Amsterdam, which leads to some kind of hilarious results. And yeah, I mean it's just
and hilarity ensues.
Yeah.
So my favorite is when a book has been made into a movie, but like they do diverge enough that like if you can read the book, you have a different experience than when you watch the movie.
Yeah.
And this sounds like it's one of those where you can literally you feel it that they're connected, but they're not the same thing. So they're both different journeys.
Yeah, yeah. And it's Sybil, I think you might actually respond to the book a little more too. Like honestly, like the British humor in it is very good. And I think it would have made
I added it to my library queue, so it's in there for reading.
Yeah, I think it would actually make a very interesting British TV series or movie too. But like, I mean, I think the ship's kind of sailed on that already. So anyway,
you never know. I mean, lives in a world where we can remake everything.
True. And it gets pretty deep at the end too. Like he just sort of starts thinking about what impact saying yes has had on his life, and he thinks about like what it actually means when we say no to people. Or when we say no to opportunities. And he kind of starts meditating on like regret for things that you said no to is often a lot worse than regret for things you said yes to. He says, we can all learn from our mistakes and heal and move on, but it's harder to learn or heal or move on from something that hasn't happened, something we don't know and is therefore indefinable, something which could very easily have been the best thing in our lives, if only we'd taken the plunge, if only we'd held our breath and stood up and done it. If only we'd said yes. So yeah, some wisdom from Danny Wallace there.
Yeah, I mean I think that is, if you are like thinking about like, moving into the land of yes, and we talk about all the time with older people as well. Like older people don't talk about the things that they did that they regret. They talk about the things that they didn't do that they regret. And so that's where we are. Like if you're living in a land of like, I'm afraid to do this, or like this just seems to me, that's not going to make me happy. I think, hey, readjust, kind of look at it from a different perspective. As somebody who did a year of kind of yesing, like I said, that's kind of what I discovered, is that you will find information out about yourself.
Nice. Well, I hope some of our listeners will think about taking on this opportunity of saying yes more, or even doing a yes day, yes week, or yes year. Yeah.
Me too. I would love to hear. Everyone, let us know if this is something you've done, if you're going to do it. It's fascinating to me.
So now we're going to do our double feature recommendations, and let's do them one person at a time. We'll do all of theirs. How about that this week?
Okay, that's fine. Do you want to start, Jen?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start. And I did kind of weird double features this week. I'm going to start out with my normal one. So my normal double feature recommendation is I'm going to recommend watching 500 Days of Summer from 2009. And that's another movie where you can see Zooey Deschanel at the height of her kind of fame, I would say. This is like right before she started New Girl, but this movie and Yes Man are like two of her biggest movies, like right in a row. And I remembered not liking this movie when I first saw it. I think maybe I expected her to be more like her character in Yes Man, But then when I went back and watched it for the podcast, there's like really a lot going on in that film, like some interesting experimentation in the storytelling. I liked her chemistry with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, even though the movie tells you right up front this is not a love story. And I thought but it's nice to see another take on relationships. And even if this one, doesn't end positively for everyone, I think it's just a really nice meditation on how we get together, how we break up, and shows her acting very well. So yeah. Either of you guys a fan of that, or?
I only ever saw it when it first came out. I haven't seen it since then.
Yeah. I liked it more in retrospect. I think it aged well. I think it like is deeper than I gave it credit for at the time. My next two recommendations are both TV recommendations. My first one is season 1, episode 3 of Community, the TV show Community. It features John Michael Higgins, who plays Nick, the guy who throws the rock at the bank. And in this episode, he's playing this like Mr. Keating-like character from Dead Poets Society who runs a class at the community college where he wants all the students to seize the day, and that's their homework. And so the reason I've chosen this as a double feature is John Michael Higgins is playing a very similar character in this episode. It's more of that manic, bright energy, and I just think they like work really well together. In fact, this movie might have even been a puzzle piece for that TV show. Actually, I'm not sure which order they came out in, but they remind me of each other very much.
I love John Michael Higgins.
Yeah. Like, have you seen him in other things too? Or like...
Oh, yeah. Well, he's in some of the Christopher Guest movies.
Okay.
He's so funny.
Yeah, I never noticed him in those. Maybe because there's so many other big personalities in those movies.
Yeah.
And then my final double feature recommendation is going to be season 1, episode 7 of the TV show Flight of the Conchords. And that's featuring Rhys Darby, who plays Norm in this movie. And I mean, he's in the whole TV show Flight of the Conchords, but in this episode, season 1, episode 7, he sings the song Leggy Blonde. So he gets his own song feature, and you get to see a little more of him. And I love his like persona. I love, he's just I really care about his character whenever I see him in a film or a TV show. So yeah, more of him.
Agree, more of him. I think he's fantastic. He's very underrated here. So my double features are going to be Role Models from 2008. And mostly it's because like I when I was watching Yes Man, I thought to myself, what would this movie be like? Because they're both done in 2008, right? What would this movie have been like if it had a different actor in this spot? Like if it wasn't all Jim Carrey. And it was interesting for me to think about what that would be like. And so Role Models is something that came out at the same time, and it has, kind of the same kind of like themes, but with kids instead. So changing your life. And then I Bring It On, obviously, because, same director, and it's one of my favorite films, period.
Yeah.
And then I have Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind from 2004. And the primary reason that is I think it's one of the best films that Jim Carrey has ever done.
Oh yeah.
That a lot of people haven't seen.
Wait, who hasn't seen? Like, hasn't everyone seen that movie?
I talk about it and people are like, oh, I didn't watch that.
What? Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm telling you, you think everybody's seen it, but people haven't.
Yeah, it's one of the best movies of all time. But I love Role Models and Bring It On also. So great picks. Well, my double feature recommendations. First of all, I brought it up earlier, but Liar Liar, 1997. That is another Jim Carrey classic where he's a lawyer in this case, and he can't tell a lie anymore because of some magical situation. I was actually going to try to rewatch it for this, and I didn't get a chance to, but I haven't seen it since back then, but I remember loving it so much, and it, kind of deals with similar themes here to what's going on in Yes Man. Another one I was going to bring up, 2019, The Beach Bum, the Harmony Korine stoner comedy with Matthew McConaughey, which a lot of people do not like. Maybe they either don't get what he's going for with the movie or just thought it was too stupid. I don't know. But to me, it is just a very ridiculous celebration of enjoying life to its fullest. Every single microsecond of life, no matter what comes your way. And Matthew McConaughey's character, Moondog, who is this stoner poet who hasn't done anything worthwhile, but is just living off of his past achievements, is just enjoying every second of his life, no matter what happens, including death and all kinds of stuff. It is absolutely ridiculous. The supporting cast is great. Zac Efron as a guy who's like worse than Moondog. And then Snoop Dogg is in it, and Jimmy Buffett, Isla Fisher. And Martin Lawrence is the best character in the movie, Captain Whack, one of my favorite characters of the last few years. The other one I wanted to bring up is actually an episode of the Ben Stiller Show, where Ben Stiller plays Tony Bobbins, a kind of parody of Tony Robbins. And it's called the Let's Go Clinic is the name of the sketch. It's like an infomercial for a program that teaches people how to get over breakups, and is probably the best self-help guru parody I've ever seen. I just wrote down like one line from it where he's talking about like the various steps of the program. And then step 4 is I hypnotize you with my teeth and you send me money. It's just, Ben Stiller is so funny. And he's just so great. Yeah, it's just perfect.
Wow, I really want to see that now. I want to see that, and I haven't seen The Beach Bum either, so I will try to check those out. My goodness.
Awesome.
Yeah, excellent Rex. I love that.
Awesome.
Well, thank you both for being on the show today. And coming up for Every Rom Com self-help series, we will be covering movies including Eat, Pray, Love, Man Up, Think Like a Man, and more. So stay tuned for that. And if you want to enter the giveaway for the book Yes Man by Danny Wallace, be sure to email us feedback at everyromcom.com with the code phrase Munchausen by proxy. And also be sure to check out David's new album, More Content. David, once again, where can we find all of your podcasts, your music, everything?
Absolutely. Thanks again so much for having me on. And yeah, people can find my music at bydavidrosen.com. They can specifically go straight to the new album, More Content, on my Bandcamp at davidrosen.bandcamp.com. That's where you can get the limited edition CD. And of course, it will be on streaming in all of those places, Spotify, everything else. So check it out there. And you can check out Piecing It Together wherever you're listening to podcasts, and follow us on social media at Piecing Pod.
Yeah, and I definitely recommend listen to his podcast. And also, he's got a really cool Facebook group as well. So yeah, lots of stuff to dig into there. All right. So yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. And goodbye.
It's been a real pleasure. Thanks, David. Thanks, Jen. Bye.
Goodbye.